Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for checking out the video. Happy Saturday. I hope you're having a great weekend. And I'm going to try to get into everything as soon as I possibly can. I just have to say real quick that that the video that I posted yesterday, or that I meant to post yesterday, rather, it's not up yet. I'm still trying. And looking on the screen here, I downloaded a new program. I'm trying to use it. I'm trying to make it work. So I'm using my dash cam from my car to generate an image of myself in the corner, and then I produce the rest of it. But it's taking forever. Right now, it's still saving. It's finally 96% done. But I'm telling you, it's been 3 hours at least since I started saving this. It's taking forever. And to make matters worse, with my dash cam, it only records in 5-minute increments before it stops and starts another video. That's really common with dash cams. I'm pretty sure that it's like every 5 minutes it like records a new clip, but it just streamlines it. It just keeps recording. But it's a huge pain in the ass to try to put all those together. If I record a 1 hour video, that's 12 of those videos I have to line up next to each other. So it's a huge pain. I was thinking about using my phone to record with rather than my dash cam, but the problem with that is still with this program, it's still going to take forever. It takes 3 hours just to save it, whereas the one that I was using before, it only took like 30 minutes. So I think the best solution is just to get a webcam. The only one that I found that I could get, and it's not even a reasonable amount of time, it's about a month from now that I'll finally get it, is through Walmart. So I don't know if this is going to happen anytime soon, but what I'm going to try to do with this video, I'm going to record the first 5 minutes of me, and then after 5 minutes goes, you'll see my image down here on the bottom corner fade away, and then you'll just watch the rest of the video just as I've been producing them since the very first one, just showing my computer screen and what I found on the internet as far as the virus and what's going on, and hopefully I've found the articles that would be most relevant and useful and informative to what your situation might be. So obviously it's American based, but I do take stories anywhere in the world if they're important enough. I mean, everything's important. Obviously, I don't want to downplay that at all. This whole situation is absolutely dire. You know, it's extremely scary. It really is. I mean, a year from now, I mean, it could cost $12, $15 for a gallon of milk. I mean, it's that serious. It really is. So yeah, this is a work in progress. I'm sorry that I didn't get yesterday's video posted yet, and the reason is because I'm trying out this new software. It's taken freaking forever. It's been over 3 hours and it's still not done. So this looks like a no-go. I might just have to keep doing my thing with no face. But for this video, I'm gonna try to do the first 5 minutes, and once the first 5 minutes is over from this video, it's just gonna fade, and my little image in the bottom corner is just gonna disappear, and then we'll just move on from the video, which should be by now because now it's been 6 minutes into the video. So but anyway, yeah, I guess aside from that, I had ribs for dinner today. That was pretty awesome. And actually it disappeared. Where did it go? I actually had it pulled up. No, that's the paper blanks. Oh my God, where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, fall off the bone. This is the recipe that I used. It was really good. And it's not the first time. This is actually the second time I used this recipe. I've made ribs several times in the past on the grill. I mean, I'm 35. I've been using the grill for, I don't know, at least 10 years, if not a little longer. No, yeah, probably about 10 years. Because there have been periods of time where I had to get stuck in an apartment complex, which I really hate doing because it's kind of cool to use a grill. And I've fumbled around with those stupid little gas grills, you know, those little like carry along with you kind of deals where it comes with a propane tank and stuff. I mean, I've tried grilling in an apartment complex, and it's a pain in the ass. At least to me it is, unless you're on the ground floor. But I mean, yeah, good recipe. I mean, it was really good. It was kind of fall off the bone. I mean, it didn't slide off the bone. And again, I've used this in the past, and it tasted just like smoky bones in my opinion, like smoky bone ribs. But I oven baked it for a few hours, and then when it was ready, I took it out. Well, actually, I started by peeling off the membrane, which is a big pain too. So if you're familiar with cooking with ribs, then you know what I'm talking about. You can't get your ribs to fall off the bone unless you unless you use the elbow grease to get that membrane, that skin layer off of the back of your ribs. It's tough. If you haven't tried it before, have fun. I guess I would tell you to grab a paper towel that's kind of like those Viva paper towels, the ones that are cloth-like, more so than paper. The ones that are cloth-like, you can get a way better grip once you use your fingernails to get a little bit of that membrane off. and you can just grab that paper towel, and they're actually doing that there with the little section of it. It looks like no, actually that's part of the membrane there. I thought maybe that could have been a paper towel they were pinching to peel it off with, but I think that's a good tip. But yeah, really good ribs tonight. They were awesome. The only reason I got them was because at Winn-Dixie they were half off. They were only $10. So I figured, why not? I only get ribs like maybe twice a year, the ones that I grill, just because they're expensive. I can't afford ribs all the time. I mean, I would like to. It'd be awesome to have ribs every Saturday night. It'd be unbelievably amazing. It'd be awesome. But the reality is it's too freaking expensive. And to be honest with you, it's just me and my daughter. That's it. I mean, I have to provide for myself and for my daughter. My daughter more so than anything. I mean, she's eaten before I do, as far as I'm concerned. But I mean, but my mom lives with me, and so we share a house together. So, and she works full time. So we make it work. So there are two incomes and three people in the house. So ribs could be had more often, I suppose, if I really wanted to. But you know how it goes. You know how it goes. Somebody who doesn't make a whole lot of money and they have more than two kids. Oh my God, I don't know how you do it, but I mean, I don't make much money at all. But if I had three kids, holy crap, man, that would be some really, really thrifty shopping, to say the least. I mean, I already shop at Aldi as it is, and I've already been transparent with how my bills work with my $6 phone bill and the whole thing that I've already talked about. Dude, I could not imagine having three or more kids. Holy crap. Now, I really hope everything's working out. I mean, I know it's this whole coronavirus isolation issue that's going on. I'm not trying to instill fear or anxiety or anything in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, like, I guess I worded it wrong. It's not the cost aspect of that, really. I mean, because it really isn't. I mean, if you're feeding like an extra couple of kids, I mean, they weigh like 40 pounds, 50 pounds, or whatever it is, depending on their age. It's not really like a money issue. To me, it's just like I see it more of like working harder at home with way less spare time kind of issue, to be honest. I mean, that would be how I would visualize that. I think, I mean, if I had three kids and I made the same I do right now, I would probably be more thrifty. Yeah, I would probably exclusively shop at Aldi as opposed to 50-50, half the time at Aldi, half the time at Publix, and sometimes Winn-Dixie. But yeah, I mean, that could easily work. I mean, financially, I don't think it's the difference between raising one kid and raising three kids. I know there's like back to school. I know the whole buying clothes for them. I know. But I'm sure it's not crazy different. I mean, people who make a fairly small amount of money, they're still able to raise three kids. You know what I'm saying? So anyway. So I'll go ahead and start to get into this whole coronavirus thing as soon as I find my vape stick, which, be right back. Right over here, right over here. I'm coming back. Here I am. My vape stick, it was just out of reach. I'll try to keep it off the microphone this time. I know yesterday I was really dropping the ball in the last video. So, let's get rid of these ribs. This has nothing to do with anything. I was just, just enjoying the day, so to speak. And now we can get to real issues here at hand. I was just trying to make light of what's going on, because I'm sick of this doom and gloom. I'm so sick of this bad news. I really don't want to do this. I think I'm ready to start my new podcast. I want my freaking webcam. I want to start this podcast, the Spathon Express. I've got that composition notebook that I showed a moment ago. I mean, the reason there's so many tabs there, like each tab is like a different segment of the show, and I plan on doing probably about 4 per show, and then kind of jump into different segments and different episodes. So I've got the whole thing planned out. That book's almost full of material already. I'm ready to get it going. But I don't want to do a YouTube-based podcast without showing my face, so I don't want to get into it yet. Plus, coronavirus just seems to be a very important topic right now, and it looks like that a lot of people out there, they don't want the fake news media just breathing down their necks constantly with terrible news, doom and gloom. And at the same time, they're attacking everybody that's left of center, or right of center, I mean. And it's really annoying. It's frustrating. And, the clickbait garbage media out there, it's just, there's a lot of people who are starting to take refuge into YouTube channels and people who deliver news from a personal perspective. And that's kind of what I wanted to do as far as putting this together. I mean, what I find on the internet, I use mainstream sources. I try to stay as center as I can. I mean, I do exclusively look at Fox News here and there. Same with One American News. Sometimes I look at Daily Wire and things like that. But when it comes to Google searching, like if you Google search just coronavirus and then you click on the news tab, it is almost 100% left wing media, almost exclusively just left stuff. I'm not saying it's leftist, I'm just saying it's very liberal. So I have to go out on my own to try to find the other end of the spectrum that I favor more personally, as opposed to just Googling it and then you get a lot of one sided stuff that the status quo does. I mean, the average person, they'll just Google search something and then they'll just rely on what Google delivered them. Whereas if you're trying to be more objective and more, looking at both sides of everything, you really have to take the initiative to find anything that's conservative leaning. You have to actually go out on your own and find it. So, but I try to stick on both sides and try to just be equal as much as I can. I don't like a lot of these outlets that I pull my articles from, but I do read them. And if I think they're full of crap, I'm not going to go for it. But I mean, I put together probably about 5 for tonight. I tried to stay pretty light on it because lately I've been trying to research like 6, 7, 9, 10. Sometimes I have 11, 12 articles prepared even, just because I think that I'm just not going to have enough material to cover. But it's the opposite. I mean, I sometimes I don't even get into the third article and I'm already like an hour into this recording. So but anyway, with this, trying to get back to basics here, not back to basics, but back to the point. So this one I haven't refreshed since 4:53 p.m. That's the last time that I've refreshed it, and right now it's 9:22 p.m. So I just wanted to take a look at how much the numbers have jumped. Let's see, 5 in the last 4.5 hours. I'm hoping it's not too scary. This number with the United States, I mean, I know we're going to be number one probably from here on out. If China would report their numbers realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if they had over 1 million. But they haven't moved their numbers hardly at all, despite the fact that they had what they said 40 new cases outside of Wuhan, China in the last few days, and they closed all the movie theaters in the country. So, and plus there was a report out there, if you haven't heard, there was a sighting of thousands of urns being shipped into China. So I don't know what that means exactly. I'm not really sure why China can't make their own urns, but there was a report out there where somebody spotted thousands of urns either headed for China or they were spotted in China or something like that. But I think they were just trying to show that a lot more people are dying in China than what they're saying that are individuals dying there. But so I'll go ahead and refresh this. So 140,000 have recovered. I mean, I think that number is going to go up exponentially as much as this goes up. Especially if they're reporting this number. But the reality behind this is that if you're young or if you have a really good immune system or if your symptoms are very mild, you're not going to go to the hospital. Either you're just going to assume you have the flu, or you might think you have coronavirus, but you feel like you're okay, that you don't think you should go to the hospital. Maybe your fever hovers around 100, 101, and your symptoms are relatively mild, and a few days later you seem to beat it. So these numbers are very inaccurate in my opinion. I think there's millions and millions of people out there who have coronavirus right now, but they're just battling through it. They're just staying home. They feel sick. They're just, hunkering down. But anyway, let me go ahead and refresh this and see where we're at. So 657, 691. Please don't be too much more. 657, 691. Okay, that is thousands more, but I was just hoping to stay under 700, because at least as far as the U.S. has been showing their numbers, and I could be wrong. You could correct me in the comment section if I'm not right on this, but it seems like every 3 days, it seems like we're doubling our numbers. It's jumping quickly, like really quickly now. See, it looks like we hit over 122,000 right now. And it just keeps going up. Italy is still ahead of China. China's not delivering their numbers accurately because, they haven't gone over 81,000 in like many days, like probably at least a week, if not longer. So the United States is obviously taking a pretty heavy hit. Let me just do my county because I do broadcast out of Tampa Bay, and I've made that very clear in most of my in my videos, because when it comes to local news, I always go for Florida because that's where I live. So it's mostly relevant that I do that. So if you don't live in the Florida area, I apologize. But as a country as a whole, I'm sure you can see what state you live in by looking at this map. I know the East Coast is a lot more scary looking, um, but look, I mean, if you live in a rural area, I mean, it's dotted pretty scarcely here and there, but it does look like chickenpox, though. It does look like it's widespread, which it is widespread. It really is, and it's not going to get any better for a really long time. I just hope that they lift all of these stay-at-home orders and stuff, and they let us open the restaurants again, open up the businesses, and I mean, essentially surrendering to coronavirus and just admitting the fact that keeping everything shut down is not going to stop it. It's not going to stop it, because look at the numbers. It keeps jacking up, going higher and higher, and we're getting close to that 15-day mark. Since the president had put out that recommendation, the stay 6 feet away from each person that you're in relative contact with, groups of 10 or less than 10. I think it was less than 10. But the numbers keep going up quickly, and it's not. I don't think it's as much of an exposure factor. I think it's more of a testing, the availability of testing. I think that's why the numbers are increasing so fast, because people are getting tested. So anyway, yeah, just, I mean, it's around. It's really made its rounds, and I think right now, obviously the cat's out of the bag. Obviously it is. I think everybody's staying at home. Yeah, some people might get lucky and not catch it, but you know what? The businesses have to open. Everything has to go back to normal, because if not, businesses can't pay rent to the properties that they're operating out of. The property managers either kick them out, or they have to end up going under because they're not taking any money in from these businesses, and it's just a domino effect. I mean, it happens all the way across the board. Businesses go out of business, and when people get better, there's no work to go to when it's all said and done, and we'll have no economy left over. So, I mean, it's really scary. It really is. I had to take off this shirt. This room is hot. So if you watch my previous video, then I mentioned that it's just, yeah, it gets pretty hot in here, and I've got a ceiling fan, but I don't want to crank it on because I don't know what it does with my sound quality. So I try to leave it off, and that's kind of why I'm trying to do these videos at night, because the sun's gone, and I mean, it doesn't really cool off the room, quickly, but it's helpful. Plus, my room faces the west, so during the latter half of the day, the sun's shining through my window, which I'm sure only makes it worse back here. But anyway, so let's see. So since we're done with that, let me go ahead and just bring up the next one that I typically pull up here for you, and that's the Dow Jones Index. It hasn't changed since the last video because they don't do trading during the weekend, but in case you missed the last video, as of Saturday night, let's see, March 27th, 5:12 p.m., that was actually yesterday. That's when they displayed the last number. But right now it's March 28th at 9:28 p.m. on Saturday, and the number's the same. It dropped 915 points. I'm sure on Monday it's going to keep dropping and dropping. I mean, there's some glimmers of good news that come out, and it gives a boost to the stock market, such as the third wave of the spending bill, the stimulus package, I guess you might call it, the $2 trillion package. That gave a boost to the stock market on Thursday. It jumped up pretty good, but then on Friday, I don't know why, but it fell. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I mean, this is a means to an end. I'm telling you. I mean, we are not going to be sitting above 20,000 2 weeks from now, a month from now. I mean, I would be surprised at the worst of the situation, the worst that it gets. I would be really surprised if the Dow Jones is going to be above 8,000, which is really, really bad. That is bad. But I think that's the reality that we're looking at. I mean, I think the only way that we can save this situation that we're in is if we open up everything. Everybody has to go back to work. And the best advice that the government, that the officials, the experts can give us is to keep your hands clean, stay 6 feet away from everybody. But we have to go back to work. We have to go back to restaurants. We have to keep doing our thing, theme parks. I mean, as far as like basketball games and stuff and sports games, I don't know how to combat that. I don't know. I mean, I guess that if you take the risk by paying the money to go to the game, and if somebody who's sitting next to you might be coughing, I would like instantly leave and be like, no, I'm just gonna chill down here at like the like one of those like observation deck type areas where you can still see the game. It is a crappy view, but at least you're there. But I guess that doesn't help because you're still crowded around shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of other people watching. So, I mean, the sports industry, I think for the long term, they're going to take a hit. Anything that there's going to be a big crowd of people showing up to, especially like concerts and even the Olympics, but they already put that off until next summer, which is going to be really bizarre. It's going to be weird having an odd year Olympics, first time ever, I'm sure, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about with the Olympics. I'm not big into the Olympics. I do love the swimming because I was a swimmer throughout my schooling years, and I actually got really good at it. But when I went into high school and after I was in high school for a little bit, I kind of found other activities to be more preferable at the time. Stupid teenager, and my parents didn't push me hard enough, I don't think. I mean, if they forced me into swimming, I probably would have gone to college for free, but it is what it is. Hate the phrase. But yeah, I won a lot of first place ribbons. I got second best in the county. At the time, I was living in Indianapolis, and for my age group, I was the second best long distance swimmer in the county. So I don't know. It's not number one. If you're not first, you're last. But whatever. Anyway, the point being is that I like watching swimming in the Olympics, and I was looking forward to that this year. I always look forward to watching swimming, but I don't know, whatever. It just seems like it just happened, right? Like the Summer Olympics, it seems like it just happened with Michael Phelps and all of his blood, whatever, like these giant suction cup spots all over him. It didn't seem like it was that long ago, but it was 2016. That was when Michael Phelps just swept the swimming sport and just took tons of medals, and they were saying he was too old to win anything, but he still just kicked ass. I mean, 2016, man, what a year. It's crazy. The Cubs won the World Series in 2016, for crying out loud. Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. That was something nobody saw coming. What a year. It's a crazy year. I mean, that was one of a million things that happened that year. It's crazy. I watched this video of like unbelievable stuff that happened in 2016, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it really is. I mean, the Cubs winning the World Series, I think, was like the pinnacle of 2016 for sure. But there were a lot of other crazy things that happened that year. It was a pretty crazy year for sure. I mean, yeah. But anyway, let me go ahead and drop out of this. I mean, this is nothing new, so there's no point in leaving that up on the screen. And speaking of the president, I'm not going to add this to every video. So I know the X01, that's the map that I show from Johns Hopkins, and then I show the X02, which is the Dow Jones Index. So I'm pretty consistent with that. This one is President Donald Trump's job approval, and this is an aggregate poll. So this is a combination of a bunch of different networks, news networks, I think, primarily. And it shows a graph. It's kind of cool. It shows a graph of, like, that's his approval rating in red and his disapproval rating in black. So, I mean, clearly, like, the end of 2017, he was hitting, like his the red is disapproval, the black is approval. I'm sorry, I had that backwards. But like around the end of 2017, it looked like he hit his biggest disapproval numbers, 57.9. Only 37% approved of him at the time. And then as it goes on, like when these two lines close in, that means his approval rating's going up and his disapproval rating's going down. And right now, look at this. Like right when this crisis started happening, look at this, in the middle of March. This is crazy. In the middle of March, this is when the entire system, the whole shebang, it all starts to go south fast. I mean, stay-at-home orders. You can't go outside. Restaurants are closing. Even gun stores are closing. Everything is shutting down because they want to keep us from socializing physically with each other, shaking hands, hugging. Like bars were closing all over the place, especially in Florida, because you get those idiot spring breakers who are like, oh, fuck coronavirus, I don't give a crap. And they're just like falling down all over each other, and good God, I mean, what a cluster. But yeah, anyway, with his right now, as we're standing on March the 27th, they haven't updated it yet for today, but his disapproval rating is 49.3%. His approval rating is 47.3%, and I'm sure that's going to cross over pretty soon. I mean, and this is the aggregate, which is good because it actually combines the statistics of all of these news networks. So I think that's kind of good. I mean, I'm sure most of these are liberal in nature. I see Fox News there. That's clearly conservative. But aside from Fox News, I don't really see anything else up here that is right leaning. I think all the other ones are left leaning. So I guess that should show, that the number is probably more significant. But I just think that's an interesting thing to see. Again, I'm not going to show that every video because this isn't about the president. I just thought that I would show this because I do know the existence of this website and its aggregate polling data, and this has all the numbers for the latest polling, which was, I guess, well, I mean, it varies depending on which outlet was polling their dates or polling during those dates, but yeah, I mean, if you scroll down, it just goes back in time. But there you go. Let me go ahead and start to get in some other content here. So I do have on my notepad, I've got a little bit of information here. I don't think it's anything too crazy, but I did have to jump back into this whole economy situation because it's really scary. I mean, the way the economy is working right now, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment just last week alone. Just last week. I thought that was for the month. I thought it was from the first of the month up till the day that they were reporting it. So far this month, it was 3.3 million. No, it was just that week. Just last week, 3.3 million people filed for unemployment. Now we're going to get into the second week of this issue of being shut down, which we just came out of, essentially. I believe it's been the second week now, because now we're into the weekend. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, next week when they pull those numbers out again, it's going to be scary. I think it's going to be way higher than 3.3. Could be 6, could be 7, could be 10. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's going to be alarming. 3.3 was insanely alarming. So it's not looking good, but the president said that we do need to get back to work as soon as possible. And he says it could be a couple of more months before everything returns to normal, but he hopes we can reopen areas of the country that aren't affected as much. He has said time and time again that we have to go back to work as soon as possible. Everyone has to return back to work. He did say that, I mean, no, this is me. This is me saying this. I'm not taking any quotes from the president by saying this. What I am saying personally is that we must go back to work now. Everyone has to go back to work. And I know the consequences of doing so. A lot of people are going to get sick by the millions. But if we continue to stay home, then the economy is going to continue to spiral down and down and down. And as a result, the inflation is going to skyrocket and everyone ends up becoming dirt poor. I mean, not everyone, but 99% of us are going to be really struggling, like really struggling. The other 1%, yeah, they've been living in their giant, glorious ivory towers for, the last X amount of years before coronavirus was even on the radar. So they're going to be all right. They're like, screw a depression. I don't care. I'm Jeff Bezos. I'm Bill Gates. I'm a movie star. I'm, an athlete. I don't care. I mean, and they don't care because they're going to be all right. If inflation triples, they're still going to be fine. That means instead of being worth $100 million, now I'm worth, I guess technically buying goods and stuff, I'm worth $30 million. I mean, to somebody like me and somebody like the average person out there, the difference between being worth 100 million and 30 million, either way, it's still pretty damn good. Either way, you're doing just fine. You have nothing to worry about. Unless you're an idiot and you just blow all your money like a stupid lottery winner does. But, there's always those people too. So, I mean, I just think that we just have to get back to work. Honestly, I think that the value of work, the value of the economy, yes, life is more important than money. But when you look at the bigger picture, if you shut everything down and the economy tanks, you're going to lose more people in that situation than you would with just the coronavirus alone. If everybody goes back to work and everybody does their thing, business as usual, people go in and buy their coffee, people go to the restaurants and they do this, that, and the other, we're going to be very careful with sanitizing everything anyway. We have been. So I think we're getting pretty close to being accustomed to that already. So I'm sure that the average person, if they were to walk into a restaurant tomorrow, they might be second guessing, grabbing the menu and just looking at it without thinking about what they're touching. So people might be carrying around sanitary wipes, or people might be taking antibacterial or hand sanitizer. So I'm sure the average person's going to take that precaution so they don't get it. And you would really have to, because if everything opens up again, we already know the numbers. I mean, we're looking at the numbers. We're at what, 122,000 people that have been officially diagnosed, and many hundreds of thousands more, in my opinion, that haven't been officially diagnosed. They're just not sick enough to be desperately held up in the hospital, just hoping that they can hang on to their life. But if we don't go back to work, folks, if we don't, then the economy is going to go really bad. And any other country out there where the economy goes bad like that, people die. Lots of people die. And it's not just natural death. People will commit suicide. Um, then you do have people that do end up dying of malnutrition and things like that. I mean, it gets very desperate. Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people will go homeless because they can't afford their rent. If you can't afford rent, you can't live there. And if you can't afford your rent anywhere, then you can live nowhere. So it's going to displace millions of people if this stuff keeps up. I mean, I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. The best thing that the president can do right now is say, look, I know it's a crazy situation. We did the best we could. We tried to lock things down for a few weeks, and the virus still spread. But it is a free country. You can't shut down a free country because we're free to do whatever we want. That's the foundation of American values, is that we're a free nation. We can do whatever the hell we want, whenever the hell we want, as long as it's civil. But I mean, we can't keep doing this because we are going to wreck our economy. It's just spiraling down right now. I mean, a $2 trillion spending bill, that's only a third of what they've already passed. It's a $6 trillion combined in 3 phases worth of money, all put together. $6 trillion. I mean, the entire Afghanistan-Iraq war over the last 20 years didn't it cost about that much. And oh my God, that's frustrating, man. I'm telling you how frustrating that is. I mean, the amount that inflation's going to skyrocket if they keep taking out these stupid spending packages like they're doing. I mean, the best thing we can do is, like I've said a couple of times now, we go back to work. We understand the risk by going out. We're well aware of it, but we got to open up everything. We have to. If you get coronavirus, if you get sick, you go home. You get better, you come back to work, hopefully. But I mean, like what I'm saying here in the notes, the best option is to return to the normal public atmosphere. The virus will blanket the country, and millions will probably die. But this time next year, most of the population will have received the virus and recovered, more or less. But in the meantime, if you do get sick, you just take the time, take a couple of weeks off from work to recover. Once you're better, you can return to work. And some businesses, and this is a reality, there are some businesses that may get the virus that sweeps across their staff. And so you might get a restaurant where just everybody catches it because somebody who has coronavirus, they don't know they have it for several days. And in the meantime, they're, handling whatever it is they're handling, and many more get sick. Restaurants, I understand. Restaurants might be very sketchy because if somebody is a cook and they have coronavirus for 4 days before they know they have it, I can understand that. But there could be practices that could be put in place, like laws. And there's already really strict laws with that. You got to wash your hands after you use the restroom. You have to wash your hands after you deal with raw poultry. I mean, there are other, standards and practices and guidelines and laws that have been put into place to try to protect food in the restaurant industry. But if they clamp down on that even more, if you're a cook, you have to wear a face mask. You have to use gloves. Maybe even wear a face shield. That way, if they accidentally touch their face, they're not really touching it. They're touching a face shield or something. That would help protect your food from being compromised with coronavirus. Servers, they would have to clamp down on that. They might have to wear gloves. They might have to do the same thing, masks and face shields, just in case they accidentally touch their face. They're not transmitting whatever they have on their face onto the glass of your beverage that you're going to be receiving from them. I don't know. I mean, we're going to definitely have to clamp down on that for sure. Because if somebody gets sick with coronavirus in a restaurant, that could be enough to shut down the whole restaurant. So I think that the rules should really tighten up as far as cleanliness and sanitizing and all that stuff. And I think, you know what? Even if this whole thing disappeared tomorrow, I think there's still going to be a lot of regulations that'll stick. That'll be around for a long time. But we're not doing anybody a favor by shutting down the whole economy. We're not. The only thing we're doing is damage to ourselves for years to come, many years to come. So I really hope that they open it back up and we hold our breath, we take the plunge, we just hope that we don't get the virus in the next year, They're saying up to 70% of the country could end up with it over the next year or two before we get the vaccine out there. But it just might be one of those things, it may just have to sweep across the world, and we'll lose a lot of people. There will be a lot of suffering, a lot of turmoil. But if we shut down the entire economy for months on end, we won't have an economy to come back to once it's all said and done. There won't be any jobs left over because nobody will have any money, and we're going to be probably worse off than we would have been if we just opened up everything and just took the risk of getting it. I mean, I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. I mean, I think I'm right. If you have a different opinion, definitely leave it in the comments below and let me know why you're right and why I'm wrong. And I'll be definitely happy to read it and respond to you. So anyway, and like I said, when the U.S. economy tanks, when everyone's sitting at home doing nothing productive, because if you're not productive, you're not doing anything that generates income, trillions that will be going into the economy with the workforce and businesses, it's going to end up drying up regardless, because if nobody is there to be working to keep that money relevant, it's just going to dry up. It's going to go away. Can the government afford to pay for the health treatment of everyone with the virus and those who have no insurance, just like me, because I don't have insurance? And how much does it cost if I have to go to the hospital and I have coronavirus and they have to keep me there for a few days? I mean, if you're in the hospital for anything for a few days, it's going to cost a minimum of $10,000 to $20,000 for sure. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks with my kidney issues, and I mean, I know my medical bills went well over $100,000. It was like $150,000. Thank God I was insured at the time. I was divorced, but it wasn't finalized, so I was still technically on her insurance. So it actually, worked out pretty well as far as that went. I mean, I was able to get fixed, and I'm still not dealing with that nightmare anymore. But will we reach a point where the government cannot borrow more without a dramatic rise in inflation? And I think the answer to that is no. And if that does happen, you could make the same, you will be making the same amount of money. I mean, if inflation goes up, your wage doesn't go up. You still make the same amount of money. If you're making $20 an hour right now, and if everything doubles in price or triples in price, you're still making the same amount of money. You're not going to suddenly get a 3 times amount raise from your company just because the cost of everything around you went up 3 times. It doesn't work that way. So if you make $20 an hour, and if bread costs $10, if milk is $15, or even if a 6-pack of beer is $25, and so on, and you can even factor in your electricity. Imagine if that tripled in price. You're using the same amount of electricity, but now they're charging you triple what they did the year prior. Same with your water, the same with any other bills, car insurance, gas, whatever. I mean, you could see how hardship could really hit you if that happens. And I'm telling you, we are heading down that road. It will happen if we don't get back to work now. And not July, not June, not the end of April. I mean, like now. The sooner the better. So, in the way that they passed this package, it sounds like that they're prepping us for chilling out for 4 months. That's what it sounds like. Those who are on unemployment, you can get full benefits for up to 4 months, $600 a week. It's ridiculous. I mean, I know they don't know what they're doing, but they need to do that. We need to bite the bullet, go back to work, because I'm telling you, if we keep doing what we're doing now, we're going to lose way more people doing that than if we just pretended it didn't exist. And if you got sick, you stayed home. Then you go back to work when you get better. That's just my opinion. But in my first article that I'm going to pop up, it's regarding New Jersey and guns. And yeah, New Jersey, my God. I mean, this is scary. I am so glad that I bought my guns when I did. I bought my rifle back in January. It was just a luck of the draw. I did not see this coming back in January at all. I did by February. That's when I stocked up on my food. But I was really, really lucky that I was, I had enough money. I got like 3 paychecks, I think, in January. I think that's what set me up for getting my AR-15. So I was really glad to do that. I didn't have any ammo for it at the time, but I did get my ammo. It did show up about a week later, so it's really lucky. And I will show a couple of websites that shows how depleted they are with ammunition and rifles. Cheaper Than Dirt, they usually have like over 1,000 different AR-15s to choose from alone. I mean, like literally like 1,000 that they have in their stock. I mean, I'm estimating it could be a very loose estimate. Maybe they actually have on a normal day like 600, But right now they have 42 to choose from. And they have no 5.56 NATO rounds at all. None. And there's other websites in the same boat. You can't get 5.56 NATOs. But you can get 223 Remingtons. You can get those, but I mean, that's not the one that's mostly sought after, obviously. But if you do have a 5.56 NATO gun, like what I have, my firearm, it can shoot a 223 Remington round perfectly fine. But if you have a 223 Remington AR-15, you can't shoot a 5.56 NATO out of it without causing some very quick wear and tear to your firearm. But anyway, I did want to show that and get into that. And then if I have enough time, I will get into this information here. It's really interesting. Let me see here. Without confusing you with the wording there, I actually did, and it's in my composition notebook here. Police aerial surveillance drones, and that includes this project done by the U.S. military called Gorgon Stare. It's really interesting, really crazy stuff. I mean, it involves like vast surveillance using drones that are taking constant aerial surveillance. And the concept, it's interesting. If there's a drone that is 24 hours a day hovering above like your part of the city, and they're constantly streaming like footage of the ground, every street, like down to the license plate number, if they can get cameras that sophisticated, which they do. I mean, they have cameras that are in the billions of megapixels. It's insane, the quality that they have. And the idea with this project is that they hover a craft of some sort. It could be like a drone or like a quadcopter, or it could be an actual surveillance drone. Whatever it is, they leave it up in the sky, and it just records a sector of the city 24 hours a day. So if somebody randomly robs a bank and they're within that zone, they rob the bank, they get out of there, they drive away, and they end up going to their safe house like 6 miles away. Well, the beauty of this project is that this drone records like a 20-mile radius, or not that big, but it's like a 7-mile radius or a 10-mile radius or something like that. So what they can do, they can rewind the tape, and they can zoom into the bank to an hour ago, and they can watch the suspects leave the bank, watching through this footage that they recorded an hour prior, and they watch them get into the car, and they keep playing it forward, and they show where the car goes. It's going down this highway and go down that street and that street and that street. They make a left here, make a right there. They go down through this alley, and then they go into this garage. Oh, look at this. Okay, now let's start fast forwarding up toward present time. Do you see anybody leave the house? And they keep moving it closer and closer and closer to present. All right, now we're in real time. Nobody's left the house. All right, send the cops there because they're there. Boom, they arrest them. Crazy project. It's insane. I think it's a complete violation of Fourth Amendment rights. I mean, your right to privacy, I think that is like stomping all over that constitutional amendment. But I mean, that's really clever, really clever. And I don't know, man. I mean, I think as far as keeping law and order, I think that's a crazy idea in a positive way, really. I just don't like the idea of them watching everything you do, no matter what you're doing. I think that's a big time violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. I really wish it wasn't, because now if they only stuck to this, like with criminals and things like that, like if they were good hearted with this situation, then yeah, I'd be all supportive of it. But I don't like the extent that that vast amount of power could really extend to. I don't like that. Like, I mean, they could sell that data to companies. They could, I mean, God knows what they could do with that information. But if I do have time, which I don't think I will, because I've already been talking forever, and it's almost 10 o'clock, so I don't think I'll have time to get into this. But if I don't, then if it's a light day in the news, or if I just don't feel like doing coronavirus, then maybe I will cover something like that, maybe something else. That's kind of geared toward my podcast, The Spathon Express. I was hoping to, get into some of those topics, not that specifically, but just, overall things that are more or less fascinating. So, all right, so let me go ahead and get into the articles here. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break because, oh man, when I talk fast and I hold my breath in, and I'm almost out of breath right now, so I need to take a breather. So I'll go ahead and pause this here, and I'll stop my camera because it's still rolling even though you're not seeing it anymore. But I will be back here in 3, 2, 1. And I'm back. So thank you for patiently waiting all this time. Oh my God, it's 9:58 p.m. It's been so long. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was just going to say real quick that, and I've said this in my other videos, but if you've been furloughed from your job and you're looking at a situation where you're filing for unemployment, so you're probably most definitely you're going to be eligible for that 4 months, $600 a week situation. Um, if you make ends meet, I mean, because there are going to be some people who get more in unemployment than they were making to begin with, because this is kind of a blanket thing across the country. So obviously, somebody who is working in Los Angeles and like a ritzy place in Los Angeles versus somebody who's working in like small town Kansas somewhere. They both work at Starbucks, for example. I'm sure the people in LA are probably going to be making a lot more than somebody in Kansas. I'm not sure if that's a good example or not, but there might be times or certain circumstances where you might be making more on unemployment. But if that's happening, you've got to save and save and save. I mean, this should be like the wake up call of all wake up calls for people to save their money. I mean, if your phone bill is 120 bucks a month, now is the time to start looking for that cheaper phone. And I've said this before as well, that you have to, or if you have to, rather, try to find a cheap phone plan. For example, I use a flip phone. You know those flip phones from the mid 2000s? It's actually not here in front of me. Oh, it's charging. I was gonna clap it for you, but um, I mean that phone cost me $6 a month. That's it, $6, and I don't have the internet with it. I can't use the internet anywhere I feel like going, which I think that's going to be a luxury of the past. I mean, it's still going to be available, but to people who can actually afford this in the future. But I use my home Wi-Fi and I use my work's Wi-Fi and I use Wi-Fi at any other place that I go to. And most restaurants have it, so it's convenient to me. And the phone that I use for my Wi-Fi, my smartphone, I paid like $20 for it a couple of years ago, and it was activated. I think it was through Metro PCS for probably about 6 months or so, and then I discovered this flip phone that I found at Walmart. It was like $20 in the case, and yeah, I took the phone and I bought a phone card with it, unlimited text and like 100 minutes a month kind of thing. And it was like $20, but the card was good for 3 months. So that's where it kind of gets down to like $6 a month kind of thing. But you have to start making the sacrifices especially if you're not working right now. And if you're working in a restaurant or in a retail setting, this could be a long-term thing. It really could. And this time, above all, should be a really good time for you to save. And if you've put away some life savings money, and trust me, I'd hate to say this because we all save for retirement. We all save for the future, to the point where we're elderly and we just can't keep working anymore because either health problems are starting to crop up, or we just don't have the energy anymore, or you've just busted your ass for 50 years working on the job and you've had enough. I mean, yes, we all save for that. I mean, not all of us. Actually, I would say relatively very few millennials, because that's my generation. They're actually saving in that aspect for their retirement or anything. I mean, most people are like, no, no, yeah, I'll just buy now and pay later. I love all that debt that I'm in for some stupid reason. Oh, I got a raise. I'm making $10,000 more a year than I was making last year. I'm going to go out and buy a brand new Cadillac. Why not? It might have cost me 50 grand, but so what? I'm making 10,000 more. So basically, like the mindset for the millennial, at least from what I've seen, is that if they get a nice big hefty raise, they'll buy a bigger house, or they'll get a bigger car, or they'll get fancier appliances, or they'll remodel their house, or they'll get this giant unnecessary big giant crazy flat screen OLED TV or something stupid. They don't take that extra 10 grand and just pretend that it's not in their bank account. They always find something to spend it on. Well, I think after this pandemic is over, I mean, I would say 5 years from now, those of us who are left, I think we might have learned something serious out of this. And that is probably going to be save every penny you can. I mean, there's people that grew up in the Depression. I mean, yeah, like these people were old back in like the 80s and 90s and stuff, but there were some people that were so used to living like that for their whole lives. I mean, there's even people that used their pilot light to cook beans on, and they were still making a good living. I mean, they could easily afford using the stove, but to them, it was wasting way too much money and way too much electricity. I mean, the idea that you're going to spend 15 cents worth of heat to heat up a can of beans is preposterous. Is preposterous because you could just use the pilot light for your water heater, and you could try to slide a can of beans underneath there and just light it or just heat it up using that, because either way, that pilot light's always burning. I don't know. I mean, sounds extreme, but no, that's no joke. I mean, there were people that grew up in the Depression that really pinched the penny like crazy, the penny pinchers, the thrifty spenders. And after this is all said and done, I think that everybody's going to have this really crazy wake up call that you got to save. And I'm telling you, our economy is going to be vastly different if that's the mindset we have, because our whole economy is built on spending. It's built on debt. It really is. Like back in the 60s and the 50s, if somebody wanted to buy a house, they would save for it. I mean, the economy was structured for that. Yes, they had mortgages and stuff back then, but a lot of people, they were fortunate enough to save their money. Maybe they lived through the Depression, so they saved everything they made, and then all of a sudden they realized, holy crap, I saved $15,000. Let's buy a house. We got enough money to buy a house now, because back then houses did cost that. Or hey, like the car we have now, it's a clunker. It's 10 years old. It's starting to fall apart a little bit. But I do have, let's see how much to do. Oh, I got $3,500 in the bank. Let's go out and buy a brand new car. And I think the economy could shift to that, to where it's not going to be a credit-based economy by any means. I'm sure it's not, because people who are in dire straits right now, I'm sure they're maxing out the credit cards. I'm sure they're doing anything they can to just borrow, just to stay afloat. But chickens are going to come home to roost. And I think once all of the dust settles and we find ourselves in whatever situation we're at down the road, if we still have some sort of a civilization after it's all said and done, I hope it's not like Mad Max apocalypse, but I think that if we come out of this, I think that the average mentality hopefully will be much more on the saving aspect rather than going out and spending. Because take this for a perfect example. What did the government tell you once you get your $1,200? Once you get your $1,200 stimulus check, if you make $75,000 or less, they say go out and spend it. Go out and spend it. Try to reboot the economy, get the economy going. It's a stimulus. You're supposed to spend it. And that's what they said back in 2009 when they gave us that stimulus back then. Or maybe it was 2008. Whenever it was, like everybody got $500 back then. They say don't save it, spend it. Go to a restaurant, go shopping, get something that you need, because it's infusing money into the system. But I think once all this is said and done, I don't think we're going to have that mentality. I think that once people get any sum of money, they're just going to pack it away and they're going to hang on to it, and they're going to wait just in case that coronavirus 2.0 is going to show up 20 years from now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why people in the Depression, once the Depression was over and, we went through World War II and we won, and, a way different existence in the 50s than it was in the 30s. But I mean, a lot of people in the 50s had that mentality because they grew up in the 30s. They grew up in the Depression, and they didn't want to go out and spend their money. They wanted to save it because, and from their point of view, it happened once. It could very well happen again. It can happen tomorrow. We have no idea. It could happen at any time. And we've lost sight of that. We really have. We've lost that. We're at a point now where they're like, well, if the economy just tanks, whatever, we'll just bail everybody out. Yeah, some people might lose their jobs, but the status quo is going to be pretty much, it'll be fine. We'll get through it. 10 years later, it's going to be right back to an incredible economy like it always is. I don't think in this situation, this is a whole different animal. This is not an economic situation. This is a public health crisis. I mean, and I think crisis isn't the right word. Pandemic's not the right word. I mean, apocalypse, I think, is a little crazy to say, but I mean, whatever the word that I'm searching for, I mean, it's time to wake the hell up. And, if you're not working right now because your place of business is closed, and if you've been struggling, if you've been able to save up like 10 grand, for instance, and it took you like 3 or 4 years to do so, consider yourself one of the lucky ones, because the vast majority of people don't save money. They don't save money at all. I mean, I make very little money compared to the status quo. I think the average household in America makes like $55,000 a year. I think that was about the number that I looked at last time. I don't make anything near that. I wish I did, but I don't. But I try to save as much as I can. And occasionally I'll buy something that I consider to be essential, like my AR-15 or my 45 High Point. I mean, I bought that one a couple of years ago. Really good investments, and judging by what's going on in New Jersey, now they're not letting anybody buy guns, and I'll get to the article in a second. It seemed like a really good idea, and it actually turned out to be a really good idea. So I don't know. I'm just saying that if you're out of a job right now, and if you've saved that 10 grand, I mean, this is going to be the thing that you save that 10 grand for. Or if you saved up 20 grand or 30 grand. If you've got a 401k and you've got like 30, 40,000 put away in it, the average economist is probably going to tell you, just let it sit there, let this wave just ride out. And 10, 15 years from now, it's going to be right back to where it was before all this started. You know, you just got to get through this period. You're only in your 30s or you're only in your 40s. So you've got plenty of time to let it sit there and chill. But we don't know what this is going to be like. I'm telling you, this is going to be a depression-like situation. 10 years from now, everybody's going to be saving their money. We are not going to have the economy like what we had this time 2 months ago, or 1 month ago even. The whole mentality that you go out and you buy a brand new car and you got 6 years to pay it off. I think that's all going to go away. I think it's going to be like pulling teeth to get a crazy high interest mortgage. All of this stuff, it's going to ripple into everything that we are involved with. You think the credit card companies are going to survive this? No, they're not, because nobody's making any money to pay the credit card companies. And even if you are making money right now, when it comes to paying off this bill, that bill, or the other bill, what's the last bill you're going to pay off? Well, your credit card bill, because whatever, I'll just file bankruptcy if it gets bad enough. Then it just wipes off my record. And that's the way it's going to be. So these credit card companies, they're not going to survive this, because any credit they have out there right now, out in the ether, out in the population, you know, if somebody has like a $15,000 credit card and they've only used up like 3,000 of it right now, you bet your ass that they're going to be using that for food and for everything right now, especially if they're not working. So, I mean, this thing is going to go far and wide. It's going to go across the entire spectrum, and not to shoot doom and gloom, scaring you to death kind of thing, but if you look at the whole big picture, it really is. I guess the best thing you can do is that if you've put away a nest egg, I'm not saying go out and spend it. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm saying that if you do have a nest egg, just pay for the things that you absolutely have to pay for. You have to pay for your rent. You have to pay for your electricity. If you're furloughed from your job, keep every light bulb in your house off unless absolutely necessary. Don't run the dishwasher until it is absolutely packed. In fact, don't run your dishwasher. That's a waste of electricity. Hand wash it. Hand wash it. And be conservative with your water. Water, you can be a little loosey-goosey with, depending on where you live. I'm sure in Los Angeles in a desert, it's probably more expensive per gallon, but in other parts, you might be able to get away with using a little bit of extra water, like rinsing off dishes and stuff. But there are methods. I mean, I'm talking like pinching every penny you can pinch, but you could even have methods of rinsing off your dishes in a manner that you might save like 20 gallons or 2 gallons even. But keep your water bill down. You know, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down with your toilet. You can even go that crazy. You know, every time you flush the toilet, that probably burns up 3 cents. So, I mean, just using those common sense techniques. I mean, yeah, 3 cents. Come on, dude. I find 3 cents on the ground all day long. But no, dude, if you add it up, you know, like you save like 4 flushes a day doing that. You know, that's what, 3, 6, 9, 15 cents or 12 cents. But just try everything you can around your house to maximize the amount of money that you could possibly save. And maybe you'll be able to squeeze out like $10. But hey, that's a good start. And if you're able to get off your stupid smartphone plan, and if you go pick up something that you might pay $5 a month for, then I'm sure just instantly, just your phone plan alone, you're probably going to clear $100 a month. Boom, just like that. I mean, just try to find any way you can to just try to cut yourself down as much as you can. And is that good for the economy? No, that is really bad for the economy. If everybody conserves their money like that, everybody pulls back and nobody spends money, everybody saves money, that is going to really do a lot of damage to the economy. It's a lose-lose situation. I mean, if you hold back on your money and you save it and you try to protect it and keep it, I mean, the value of the dollar can keep going down and down, or inflation going up and up. You know, whatever's worth $1 right now could be worth $4 this time next year. And, you know, what you saved, let's say you saved $20,000. Now, all of a sudden, the value of that $20,000 last year is only worth like $5,000 now. I mean, it's a reality. That's the way it really is. No, I don't know, gold, silver, all that, you could try to explore those avenues, but I mean, that might, give you some protection if you decide to invest in that, but those are metals that, you can't get insured. So if somebody breaks in your house in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, if you're not at home or whatever it might be, and if they make off with your metal stash, then that's it. You're screwed. I mean, I don't know. The advice that I have as far as that, it's not very good advice, but I'm just trying to paint just an overall picture of what we're looking at right now if things don't change, and that's just through my own perspective. I mean, I'm not an economist. I'm not an expert in that. I use my personal common sense, and I just see the world for the way it is, and I just know that if this thing goes on for 4 months, we are going to wake up in a very different economy a year from now than we did this time. I mean, like you want to talk about, man, I remember back then, like use like the movie Interstellar. If you ever seen that with Matthew McConaughey, like that's a really good example because I don't know, like 50 years before that movie was set, like the setting for that movie, 50 years prior to that, like the old man, he was in Harry and the Hendersons. I can't remember his name offhand, but he was like the grandfather who lived with, the family or whatever. And he was like, like back when I was younger, it seemed like we had a new gadget every single day. It was like every day was Christmas. But just the way we live right now, it's so different. Like we're a caretaker generation now. We're not enjoying the fruits of progress like we did once upon a time. And we might be going through that transition right now. I really hope we're not. I really hope things we'll just ride this wave, get through it, and it'll be right back to where it was. I think practically speaking, I think the internet's probably going to be fine. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think electricity is still going to be around unless we get hit by a massive solar flare. Hopefully that's not going to happen. But I mean, scientifically and statistically, it does happen. But that's for a whole nother video. But yeah, if you're struggling right now, don't read into that because that's only going to scare you more. But I mean, everything's still going to work more or less. It's just the economy standpoint. And you got to remember the United States is the most powerful country on earth by a long shot. And it's not just us dealing with this. If the United States was the only country dealing with coronavirus, then yeah, we got some real problems. Real problems. But we're not the only country. There's 175 other countries out there dealing with the same problems we're dealing with. And it might not be a numbers thing. It shows that we're the number one country in the world with coronavirus cases. It's probably because our technology is so awesome that we've been able to deliver testing kits around the country. And we're just testing our citizens at a much higher rate than the rest of the world probably is, just because our technology is so awesome and our system's great. So it looks bad, but it's probably not nearly as bad as it is in other places. I'm sure, namely China. But I just hope we get through it. I hope everything's fine and we can, come out on the other end. Hopefully we'll learn a very, very valuable lesson. We'll learn to keep clean. I mean, shaking hands will probably be the thing of the past. I mean, I think nobody's going to trust anybody when all this is said and done, especially if the experts are right and up to 70% of the United States will get infected with coronavirus sooner or later. If that's the case, I mean, at least for our generations, the ones that are actually living through this and remembering it, I don't think we're shaking hands until the day we die. Probably not. I don't think we will. Once it becomes normalized, and it's pretty close to being normalized already. I mean, like in my workplace, we're going to work from home. That's what we're trying to do, and we were rolling that out before coronavirus even was on the map. Like we were going to phase into work from home. This just happened to happen, and 5 people on Friday, just yesterday, they had packed up and they were heading to work from home starting Monday. So one of them, the guy that I work with, his name's Eddie. He was going around saying his goodbyes to everybody, and he came over to me and he was wanting a fist bump, and I kind of said, "Well, I'm gonna miss you, man. I can't do the fist bump, but I'm really gonna miss you. That's it's been awesome working with you. I'm sure I'll see you on Teams, Microsoft Teams. We use that to communicate virtually, but I was like, best of luck to you, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon." I just kind of played it off that way, but the reality of it is that some of us, we can't take that risk. I can't take that risk because my mom, she has asthma. That makes it bad enough because with coronavirus, it hits your lungs worse than any other organ in your body, and she also has allergies, and if you're familiar with the state of Florida, at this time of year, allergy season is at its absolute worst. We're not getting any rain right now. The trees are practically raining pollen. I mean, it's so thick you can actually see film on cars. Like you can see this yellow and green film on everything. That is 100% pollen. So her allergies are off the charts. It looks like my daughter has allergies too because she's been getting stuffy nose and headaches during this time of year for the last year or two. So that really sucks to have to deal with. But when it comes to coronavirus, especially with my mom and asthma, I am trying to stay tip top, 100% germ free. I won't even fist bump somebody at this point. I guess if I didn't want to come off as a prick, and I didn't because just the way that I carried it, it's like I'm sorry, I can't. I didn't tell him why, but so maybe I did come off as a prick, but I guess when you're fist bumping, I guess I could have just reached over and just grabbed some hand sanitizer and just wiped my hand clean. But, whatever. I wasn't thinking about that at the time. But anyway, I've been blabbering way too much. This is why I shouldn't be looking up 10 different articles because what am I, like an hour and a half probably into this thing and I still have yet to pull up my articles? What's the point of even doing articles? I might as well just do my reading and then just give you my take without even showing you anything. But I don't think people are interested in that. I think people are more interested in seeing what I have pulled up for you. Hour and 8 minutes. All right, whatever. Not too bad. But here, let me take a quick sippo. All right, wet the whistle, and I am good to go now. So let's go ahead and try to muscle through these. So New Jersey, they suspended their gun background checks, halting sales during the coronavirus crisis. This is a huge Second Amendment violation. Big time. Big time. Infringing on our rights. See, once they get that level of power, I'm telling you, they never want to let it go. So once they found this loophole and what they're doing with this, and I'll read the information on this, but what New Jersey is doing is that they are suspending background checks, not in a way that anybody can go into the gun store and just buy one and not get a background check. No, it's the exact opposite. Is that if you go into a gun store, the gun store employee will say, well, they suspended background checks. I can't give you a background check, so therefore you can't buy a gun. And that's the way it is across the entire state of New Jersey. They used a loophole, which is this background check nonsense, to stop everybody from buying a gun. So, and this was back on March 21st. This didn't just happen, and the article actually came out on the 23rd. So it's, this is basically a week old. But other states are probably following suit. I did a search of this. I didn't find any other states other than New Jersey, so I think this is the only one right now. But it looks like California is wanting to do this as well, so I would expect this in other states. But if you're out trying to find a gun right now, I think you've already missed the boat on that one. Maybe you'll get lucky and find something online, but if you buy a gun online, just know that this article is out there. Just know that if you live in like Colorado, or if you live in Utah, or if you live in Maryland or whatever, just know that it's happening in New Jersey at least. And if you buy a gun online, you might not be picking it up because you don't do a background check online. You buy a gun online, you have it sent to your local gun dealer, which is basically any gun store that you live near. You just tell them to send the gun to them. You go over to that shop when your gun is there and ready. Or if you want, as soon as you buy the gun, you click purchase, you can go over to the gun shop and say, hey, here's my receipt. I just bought this firearm. And I don't think they have to have the gun there. I don't think they do, but they might. But I don't think so. I could be wrong, though. But they might be able to conduct a background check before the gun arrives. But if they're not able to, if they have to actually use the serial numbers or whatever, I don't think they do. I think they just do an ATF background check, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. They'll do a background check through their system just to see if you can own any firearm. So I don't think it matters what firearm it is, serial numbers or whatever. But I think you can go in there and just get one passed. So that's what I would suggest. If you're trying to buy a gun online, at least you can try that. But, who's to say that a week from now that the governor of that state isn't going to order all gun shops closed before you can go and pick up your gun? That's why I'm saying you probably missed the boat on buying a gun at this point. So, I don't know. If there's an alternative to getting a gun, I guess I would say get creative. I don't know if you might have like, if you can get mortar fireworks or something, like shove a firework in a tube and just shoot it at people outside. That's probably a terrible idea because you don't want to set somebody on fire. But maybe you got a flare gun. Maybe that might help you. Or I mean, like what I have in addition to my AR-15 and my 45 high point, I also have a machete. I also have pepper spray, and I have a taser. The pepper spray and the taser gun I keep in my car because on my car I have a Donald Trump bumper sticker. And somebody in my local area was attacked about 7 months ago because he had a bumper sticker, like a pro-Trump bumper sticker, and somebody attacked him in traffic when he had his windows down. I don't use air conditioning in my car. First of all, it's a 1999 car, so the air conditioning is weak anyway, but it does work on a rainy day, so I save it for the rain because if I don't use it, my windows fog up on the inside, and I can't roll my windows down when it's raining because, duh. So I keep the taser gun in the car in case somebody wants to come out and take a swing at me when I'm just sitting there in traffic, just waiting for the light to turn green because my windows are down because it's hot here all the time. So, but yeah, and I got the pepper spray in there too. If I don't have enough time to grab the taser gun, I got my pepper spray too. So I've got multiple lines of defense. I definitely do, and the ones that are most effective are within arm's reach, obviously, especially in a time like this, and especially a month or two from now when things start to get really bad. You really got to defend yourself. And just know that the sheriff's department, that's our primary police force that we have here is the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Awesome people. I've dealt with them many times. Not always in a good capacity. Usually when I come across them, I'm not saying that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, but I've had a few, I've had contacts with them several times, and they've always been really awesome. But with the police departments, that's a whole different story. I think police departments are assholes, and I'm sorry if you're a police officer, I really am, but I've always had a way better experience with sheriffs than I do with police officers. I don't know. Maybe it's because you're hired by the city. Maybe it's because your position's not guaranteed in the Constitution like sheriffs are. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, sheriffs are a lot cooler than cops are. I mean, that's just my personal experience. I've even had a sheriff helicopter follow me when I was on the trail right over here next to my house. I mean, I live next to a public trail here, and oh man, I don't want to get into that, but I guess I will since I already started it. But so what happened was that I was walking down the trail in a tank top, just wearing a regular white tank top. It's just like one I'm wearing now, and walking down the trail because I have a bad back, so I have to walk when I'm spending extended times at home away from work. So I walk down the trail, trying to loosen up the back, loosen up the legs, walk down for 30 minutes, turn around, walk back home for 30 minutes, and I was on my way back home, and this helicopter came out of nowhere and just started circling around me. It wasn't like 500 feet. It was up there. It might have been about that. It was up high enough to where you can definitely hear it, but it was just like slowly rotating around me. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? They're clearly following me. I'm the only one out here. And the further down the trail I walked, it just kept orbiting around my area. And I got down to where my street was, and I took the direction that I take to get to my house, walked a number of houses down, and then I walked into my front door, and the helicopter was still out there making noise. My mom was home, actually, and I was like, what the hell? I said, I think that helicopter is following me or something. I mean, I don't think I'm paranoid, but I think they're following me. And so I go into my room. I changed my clothes because this was in July, so my tank top was soaked. I take it off. I put on a new shirt, and I'm chilling in my room, and all of a sudden I hear the door banging, like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what the hell? So my mom's already up, looking around the corner. She's like, and as soon as I go up to where the front door is, I'm walking up toward it, and she's like, it's the sheriff's department. I'm like, okay. So I open up the door, and they're like, hey, did you just come from the trail? Yeah. You're wearing different clothes, aren't you? Well, yeah, because I was just exercising. I had to change my clothes because my tank top was sweaty. They're like, well, here, come out here for a minute. And I was like, all right. You can still hear the helicopter up there. And they're like, okay. They say, where'd you come from when you're on the trail? I came from my house. Like, you didn't come from anywhere else? No. Did you have a bike? No. So when we check down the trail, we're not going to find a bike that you ditched or anything. No, I left my house. I walked up this way 30 minutes, turned around, and walked back home. That's it. I said, okay, well, we had an incident that happened at a local place of business, and you matched the description. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Apparently, the guy robbed a gas station pretty close to where we lived, and the trail was right next door to where this gas station is. And apparently, some dude who was wearing a white tank top jumped on a bike and rode down after he robbed him. Rode down the trail, apparently heading into the direction where I live. And so they tagged me for it in the helicopter, and probably the bad guy got away because they saw me and not him. So if I was wearing a different shirt, they could have probably found that guy. But instead, they focused on all their resources on me on the trail because I was wearing a tank top. I always wear a tank top when I go out there, especially in the summer, because I sweat bullets. It's extremely hot and humid. Anyway, it was frustrating, but yeah, I had the Pinellas County Sheriff's helicopter following me around for like 20 straight minutes, circling around me because they thought I robbed a gas station down the street, which I obviously didn't. And apparently they were like, well, like they took my ID, they went into the car, like the helicopter was chilling for a little bit, and then it took off, and then 5 minutes later, the person that came back with my ID, they said, okay, they said, well, we gave a description to the person at the place of business, and they said he didn't match, so we can cut him loose. And I was like, that's it? And they're like, yeah, that's it. The guy we're looking for has black hair. You have brown hair. I'm like, damn, I'm glad I don't have black hair. Because I mean, they weren't like aggressive, like get out, get down on the ground. They weren't nothing like that. They were like very, but you could tell they were on edge. You could tell they weren't letting me back in. Like as soon as I opened the door, they were like, come out here, come out here. And if I went to slam the door on them, I would have been going to jail for sure, for sure. They were that. They didn't have guns drawn, but you could tell they were ready. It was crazy, but I mean, I was sitting out there on the front porch. They were asking me those questions, like, how long were you on the trail? And I'm like, I'm just shooting the shit with them because that's just what I was doing. I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't even know what they were talking about. And then, like, when it was all said and done, they said I didn't match the description. I was like, well, where did it happen? And they said, well, it's under investigation. We can't give any details right now, but we're just trying to search for a suspect. I was wearing a white tank top, so we're gonna go out and look for him. I'm like, God damn it, you can't tell me anything. I mean, now I'm all pumped up like this. I mean, like, what is this? This is 2018 at the time. I'm like, dude, social media, man, I got to share this with somebody. Like, give me something. I don't know, but they were kind of vague with the person they were looking for. I just know he had black hair, he had a bike, and he had a white tank top, and I'm sure they didn't find him because they focused all their efforts on getting a hold of me. But yeah, man, that was crazy. True story, 100%. Um, Actually, I did post that on Facebook. So if I really wanted to, I could take the time to find exactly what time and what day. Because as soon as that happened, I jumped on Facebook, and I don't use Facebook anymore. After the 2016 election, I don't use social media anymore. I even had some of my closest friends, even a crush that I had on during high school, even going back to middle school, like my number one school crush. We were friends on Facebook, which awesome, but she unfriended me because I showed, I was really excited when Trump won the election. I was just like all over Facebook saying like, yeah, I can't believe it, like this is insane, it's crazy. And yeah, like when I started posting a couple of things here and there, like congratulations things, and like people started defriending me, even family members were unfriending me. Like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you all weren't political 6 months ago, what the hell's wrong with you? And so that's when I give up Facebook. Since 2016, I've probably been on there less than 10 times. And I usually jump on like every 5-6 months just to maybe, just because I'm bored. I'm sick of YouTube. I'm sick of, sitting on my Xbox 360 playing GTA, which I still do from time to time. I told you I'm cheap, man. I'm cheap. I still have an Xbox 360. I don't have an Xbox One. I will never have an Well, I think I will probably. Like once it finally gets to that point where I can jump on Craigslist and find one for like $75, I think I'll get one then. but my daughter, she doesn't like gaming. I don't like gaming, so whatever. But GTA is pretty freaking fun. And I actually just bought this computer. I probably should get GTA for the PC because this computer is wicked fast. I think it is. Anyway, so let me go ahead and get further into this. Let's see. I'll just start over because I don't even know where I was. I apologize. Actually, let's see here. March 21st, New Jersey joined a growing number of states to mandate the closure of non-essential businesses, including gun owners, to slow the spread of the novel coronavirus. But instead of just telling stores to close and hoping for the best, officials in the Garden State shut down the gun background check system, rendering firearm sales virtually impossible. The decision comes amid a nationwide spike in gun sales as fear of social unrest proliferate. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, the industry's trade group, reported that gun background checks processed on March 16th had surged 300% over the same day in 2019. New Jersey requires checks on all gun sales, including those between private parties. While most states rely on the FBI to conduct gun background checks, New Jersey is one of 12 point of contact states that perform their own screenings using federal databases. Following Governor Phil Murphy's executive order for a lockdown, the New Jersey State Police announced that it was directing the vendor of the NICS online application, NICUSA, to turn off the NICS online services. The New Jersey Governor's Office referred the trace to the Attorney General's office, which declined to comment. The state police did not provide a comment by the time of publication. Gun rights advocates immediately decried the move as a suspension of the Second Amendment. Gun rights exist precisely for emergencies like the one the country is facing right now with the coronavirus, reads a release on the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Club's website. Honest citizens must be able to defend themselves and their families from all manner of threats in this type of emergency, not be blocked from exercising their constitutionally guaranteed rights. The organization said it planned to challenge the executive order in court. Let's see, moving on. John Stokes, the deputy editor at The Prepared and co-founder of Open Source Defense, said the decision recalls ham-fisted efforts by the New Orleans Police Department in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina to confiscate guns. In the 15 years since, the gun lobby has successfully distorted the collection of a relatively small number of guns in New Orleans into a grave warning for gun owners. Quote, this idea of emergency powers and shutting off access to firearms, this just touches a deep gun nut nerve, Stokes said. He added that New Jersey's closure of the background check system is particularly worrisome because it revealed a new method of restricting access to weapons and caught many gun rights supporters by surprise. While other states have classified gun stores as non-essential businesses and ordered them to close, Jake Charles, the executive director of Duke Center for Firearms Law, said New Jersey's decision to shut down its background check system is unprecedented. Quote, I'm not aware of any cases where the state decided to stop processing background checks and thereby halting new gun transfers, Charles said. A decision on New Jersey's authority to do so in times of urgent public crises could have far-reaching effects on the 11 other point-of-contact states. And that's basically the furthest I got into it, but yeah, that's ridiculous. It really is. It's a complete infringement on our Second Amendment rights. I mean, and like they said, it is a time like this where it's more relevant than any other time ever. Because in a situation like this, chaos starts to prevail. People go out, people rob places, people break into places. You get places like Philadelphia where they said that if you burglarize a house or a business between the hours of 4 p.m. and 12 a.m., if you burglarize it, which is a felony, by the way, the police will cut you loose. They'll give you a day to show up in court, probably going to be a year from now, and they'll just cut you loose. Like, there you go, have a good day. And then you could just burglarize the next house. Same thing, same thing, same thing. It's insane. So yeah, I mean, I would say somebody who's trying to buy a gun to defend themselves, now is the time to do so. Right now, they should be, if anything, they should be, waiving background checks. I mean, honestly, I don't think they really should waive background checks, but why would you stop the system when the system is more or less automatic? I think it is, because when I went in for my background check for both of my firearms, they kicked back an answer within 20 seconds. Like, all right, we'll plug it into the system. We should get an answer back here anytime. And they hit the enter button, and like 20 seconds later, yep, you're good to go. All right, you can take it with you. Need any ammo for it or anything? No, I'm good. I'm just going to buy it online. All right, well, have a good day. Nice doing business with you. All right, see ya. And that was it. So crazy. It's absolutely insane. I mean, I really hope anybody who's listening has bought a gun. I really do. And I'm not saying buy a gun just because it's dangerous and, yada, yada, it's deadly. I'm just saying just protect yourself, because if somebody busts your front window to break into your house to steal all your food or steal anything that they can steal to get ahead because they're so desperately needing something, I just hope that you have something that you can pull out and just shoot. Shoot it into the ceiling. Shoot it somewhere. Just make a loud bang sound, and that'll be enough to scare anybody out. Or you could do what a lot of other people do. If you don't like guns, you can get a Rottweiler. That's what my ex did. She has a Rottweiler. Or not, no, not a Rottweiler, a Pit Bull. Sorry, I grew up with Rottweiler. That's always the first dog that comes into my mind. My dog Apollo. He was a Rottweiler that we got when I was in middle school. Yeah, he lived to 8 years old. He ended up slipping a disc in his back, and I think it's because we lived in an apartment complex and we had like a small back patio, and my stepdad was kind of a jerk, and he never walked him. So I think because he was trapped in the house all the time, being a dog of his size, he weighed like 108 pounds. Yeah, that's what the vet said pretty much. They're like, yeah, dogs who are shut in apartments, especially purebreds for a long period of time, if they don't get the adequate amount of exercise, their discs can degenerate. And yeah, he was only 8 years old when we had to put him down. It tore up my sister. I mean, my sister was a mess for like weeks. She was really a mess. It was crazy. But yeah, my ex, she has a pit bull. His name is Max. I actually, if you want to see what he looks like, I actually have videos of him on my channel before we got divorced. One of them, it's like sad, guilty dog in trouble. It got like, I don't even know what it's at right now. It was like 40,000 views or something crazy like that. He was an awesome dog. He was adorable. And I'm telling you what, man, if somebody broke into that house, don't break into any house where there's a pit bull. I mean, if anybody breaks into a house and they see a pit bull in front of them, that should be enough to scare them to death. Like, equally as dangerous as a gun, probably. But I'm just saying, you could either have a really scary looking dog, and trust me, pit bulls are adorable family dogs. They're the best family dogs. Like, unbelievably amazing. My two kitties, Lana and Livy. I did show them on the camera with the last video, but I already went over all that, how tedious it is to put those videos together when my dash cam only records 5 minutes at a time and it creates a new video. And I have to stack all that stuff together. It's just whatever. But I mean, my dog Max, like my kitty Livy, the orange tabby, she actually would curl up with him and like curl up into a ball in between his front and back legs, like right up against his stomach, and they would just sleep there for like an hour. It was crazy. Yeah, pit bulls. I mean, if they're raised right, if they're raised from a puppy, or if they were, if you get one that's 2 or 3 years old, and if they were raised right, they had a good family they came from. It's a perfect dog, and they're super intimidating. So they make really good like home security dogs, and they're also insanely smart. They are wicked jumpers. We had a 6-foot privacy fence, and he could clear that. So just know, if you let a pit bull loose in your backyard, just stay outside with them, because if you take your eye off them for 5 minutes, they're going to get out. And he got out a lot. Yeah, it was crazy how freaking smart they are. They really are. I mean, he was still a puppy. He was like maybe 30 pounds at the time. He was pretty small. And we had like a lattice, like we had a carport at the time, and we had like this lattice material on the side of the carport, so it was kind of flimsy on the bottom because it wasn't like bolted down onto the ground. And he would actually like put his weight into it and sneak up underneath that. It's kind of like having like a chain link fence, if you can think of a chain link fence, where like if you wanted to get right down on the ground, you can pull yourself underneath the chain link fence. A lattice is just like that pretty much, except lattice is plastic. But yeah, I mean, I could not believe, because we tried to keep figuring out how he kept escaping. I was like, it's got to be here. It has to be here. He can't get to the backyard. It's got to be underneath this lattice. And just trying to push. I mean, I had to put a lot of force into seeing like how wide I could get it before I could determine if he really got out through there. But it's the only way he got out. Anyway, let me go ahead and go to the next article. My God, the rambling I do. My apologies, folks. I mean, this might be why my videos have like 0 views. But honestly, I don't give a crap. It's better than doing nothing, right? It really is. So, all right, let's move on to the next one here. This is the next one, right? Yeah. President Trump authorizes ready reserve forces to fight coronavirus. Here's what that means. Now, this pertains to like the National Guard and the reserves. So if you're in the National Guard reserves, I guess you have 2 options. You can either get on this list, which is way less likely that they'll like not draft you, but like bring you back in. And then there's like another thing you can do for like a year or whatever. You can keep active service or something. I don't know, but I'll read into it. But it looks like that he is starting to or like by authorizing this, potentially a lot of people who are in the reserves who pretty much didn't think that they would ever get back into active service, they might be getting called up for it. So President Donald Trump recently authorized the Pentagon to call up units of the National Guard, reserves, and individuals from the Individual Ready Reserve to assist with the response to the novel coronavirus pandemic. On Friday, Trump said he signed an executive order that would give the Defense Department the authority to activate the Ready Reserve components of the armed forces. This will allow us to mobilize medical, disaster, and emergency response personnel to help wage our battle against the virus by activating thousands of experienced service members, including retirees. While the National Guard and Reserves may be familiar organizations to most people, many could ask, what is the Individual Ready Reserve? Unlike the others, the IRR is not an actual organized force structure that trains together regularly. So it's not like the National Guard or the Army or the Air Force or the Marines. It's or the Navy. This is because the National Guard and Reserves are part of what is called the active reserves, and the IRR is the inactive counterpart. The IRR consists of a pool of former service members who have recently left active military service but still have time left to serve on their military contracts. Typically, every service member signs an enlistment contract on re-enlistment contract that keeps them in active duty for 2 or 4 years. 2 to 4 years. But those contracts are actually for 8 years, and service members are told that when they leave the military, they can either finish up the balance of time they have left by moving into the National Guard, the Reserves, or the IRR. Those who enter the IRR do so with the understanding that they could be called back to duty if the need arises. Most who leave the military, they choose the IRR option, knowing that it is highly unlikely that they will be called back into military service. At the height of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, it was a big shock to thousands of former service members who were called back to duty because they were trained in jobs that were hard to fill or hard to train. And there you go. That's why that's a big deal, because you get a lot of field medics and you get a lot of people who specialize in certain things that could be relevant to coronavirus that they have already been trained in doing, and they've done it for years serving in the military. And this is why that he reactivated this, because there could be some specially trained service members who were trained in something that could be very relevant to help combat coronavirus that they could just pull back into service because they still have their contract, okay? Nobody should be bickering and moaning about this. They signed up for that, okay? That was their decision. They could have either stayed in the National Guard for a couple of more years, or they could have gotten into the IRR program, which would have taken them out of the military, but their contract was still active. I mean, it was active regardless. No matter what they were doing, it was going to be active for 8 years if they signed up for 4 years. But, I mean, duty calls, man. You signed up for it, so if you're called up, you got to do your thing. It's just like the draft. Everybody has to sign up for the draft if you're a male. But this whole like men are women and women are men, we're all the same now, right? Women have the same rights as men. Women are equally as strong as men. I don't know why women aren't included in the draft right now. I know there's some extreme feminists that want to, put that through, but I think the vast majority of women don't want to have to sign up for the draft. But that's just me. But whatever. That's just, leftist nonsense in my opinion. I'm sorry if that offends you, but you know what? F your feelings. I don't care. Most of those who leave the military, I already got into that, didn't I? So let's go here. But that's not the case for commissioned military officers. They are always available to be called back to duty as part of the IRR. Ooh, I did not know that. Let me read that again. But that is not the case for commissioned military officers. They are always available to be called back to duty as part of the IRR. It remains unclear if Trump's executive order will actually lead to any call-ups from individuals in the IRR. It will. Just watch. I would give it 2 weeks maximum. 2 weeks maximum. There's going to be tons of people getting called up for this. Decisions about which individuals may be activated are still being reviewed, said Jonathan Rath-Hoffman, the Pentagon's chief spokesman. Generally, these members will be persons in headquarters units and persons with high-demand medical capabilities whose call up would not adversely affect their civilian communities. So if somebody who is still a part of the IRR, if they're like some crazy brain surgeon kind of person or whatever, or if they're like a heart surgeon, or if they're like a trauma doctor or something like that, like somebody who has to deal with a lot on the job on a normal day, they're not going to call them up. Um, or like an ER physician or something. I mean, if an ER physician is in the IRR program, I doubt they're going to call them to duty, just because they got enough on their plate with their own community. And there's a little bit more information, so if you want, you can go on abcnews.go.com. And again, like I've always said, I'm just going to show you the title. You can take 3 words out of that, and it'll pop right up. I would probably do like Trump authorizes ready reserve forces. That would be more than enough to bring this right up. Apparently, they got a video too. No, they don't. That's an ad. All right, so let's go to the next one. Chalamet. Let's see. X out of that. I think we're on 5 here. Coronavirus live update. CDC issues a travel advisory for 3 states. In the United States, cases top 124,000. I think this is one of these situations where I actually highlighted it way down. I'm not seeing it now. Damn it. Oh, look at that. Disney parks stay closed indefinitely. U.S. Census is on hold. I didn't know it was on hold. I actually got my printout in the mail. I discussed that in a previous video. I think I actually waved the paper in front of the microphone. USA Today investigates. Yeah. Coronavirus cases soar in rural America. Dozens of most popular stores say they will be closed for weeks or more. I'm telling you, man, that's going to destroy the economy. Last-minute stimulus revision allows more low-income Americans to get $1,200 checks. Still. Destroyed. Could MLB season go to Thanksgiving? No. It's over. Pennsylvania sees a surge in cases. Illinois reports death of infant coronavirus patient. That's bad. That's really bad. I just glossed over that, but that's not good, man. Infants are getting coronavirus now. All right? That should be sobering. New coronavirus test could be a game changer. I hope so. I think that's talking about the 5-minute one. I saw that somewhere in the news today. I think the FDA is approving something. Yeah, here you go. The FDA issued emergency use authorization to Abbott Labs on Friday for a coronavirus test that delivers positive results in as little as 5 minutes and negative results in 13 minutes. The company expects the test to be available next week and expects to ramp up manufacturing to deliver 50,000 tests a day. This is big news and will help get more of these tests out in the field rapidly, said FDA Commissioner Steve Hahn in a statement. We know how important it is to get tests out in the field quickly. These tests can give results quickly and can be a game changer. I hope that's true, man. That's a big story. Good, man. Could you imagine that? 5 minutes. They don't even have to send it to a lab. Screw the lab. They're actually profiting from every test that they're getting, right? They're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. When it comes to, oh crap, I'm drawing a blank right now. I know there's like a couple of them, the labs, like the big ones. This stupid video is breaking my concentration. I don't know. Like there's 2 really big. Quest is one. Quest Diagnostics, and then there's another one. But whatever, you know what I mean. They're making money off every test that they run, for sure. They're making money. They're not doing this voluntarily. It'd be nice to have one of these so they wouldn't have to run the test. That way it would save us a little more money, us by being the taxpayers. I mean, if the test just shows up positive or negative, like it's like a pregnancy test or something, like, I don't know if they take a drop of your blood or if you cough on it or they probably swab you, right? And that's what they've been doing. They've been swabbing your throat or no, the back of your nose. That's what they've been doing. And then probably just smear it on a like some sort of a piece of paper or something, and it'll show if it's. I don't know what they're doing. I'm just blowing smoke out of my ass. But anyway, Trump sends off naval hospital ship bound for New York City. New York hospitals will allow birthing mothers to have visitors. I think that's a terrible idea, but whatever. It's New York City, so that's not a shocker. New Jersey governor warns against corona parties. What? Oh, man, that's messed up. That's hilarious. I can't believe I have to say this at all, let alone for the second time, but here we are. No corona parties. They're illegal, dangerous, and stupid. We will crash your party. You will pay a big fine, and we will name and shame you until everyone gets this message into their heads. Didn't I say that? Didn't I say that in a previous video? We're going to have these chickenpox parties, but it's going to be coronavirus parties. And I swear to God, this is the first time I've seen this. I swear to you. My hand to God's ear. This is the first time that I've actually seen this. And that's what I was saying. I was like, you know what? Everybody who's in the prime of their life, they're probably just going to gather up. You know, the doctor might say, well, yeah, you can get coronavirus. You'll be fine. You won't have to go to the hospital. Yeah, your lungs are good. You'll be okay. And they're like, all right, I'm going to the party. And boom, coronavirus party. Everybody gets infected. Everybody deals with it. They build up their immunity system, and they're good to go once they get out of their own personal quarantine. I'm telling you, man. Look at this craziness. Look at this. Earlier in the day, Murphy tweeted that police on Friday night broke up a party where 47 people, including a DJ, were packed into a 550 square foot apartment. Dude, are you kidding me? 47 people can fit inside a 550 square foot apartment. That is nuts. That is crazy. The warning comes days after a similar coronavirus party in Kentucky resulted in at least 1 attendee contracting the virus. So I guess like the way that I mean, honestly, I know this is dangerous, but frankly, I think we don't have any other choice. I think this virus is going to sweep across the nation. 70% plus of the entire population is going to get it anyway. You're just biding time. It's a means to an end. If you're hoping for the vaccine, I mean, it's not going to be 18 months. All right. It's not. I mean, if it is 18 months, that is 3 times faster than the fastest vaccine ever developed in human history. Okay. So you might as well kiss 18 months goodbye. I mean, you're talking 3 months longer, and that's a record. So, I mean, I would say, you know, I don't know, man. If it were me personally, my best friend called me and said, dude, I got coronavirus, man. I got it. I'm screwed. I'd be like, all right. I honestly, I mean, if I had a PCP, which I don't, I'm sure I could find one today. You know, I'm sure that any doctor would be willing to give you their 5 minutes, you know, without having insurance. But I mean, I would try to contact a doctor and be like, look, here's my situation. I'm 35 years old. I'm pretty slim. I weigh 135 pounds. I'm 5'11". My metabolism's pretty good. My blood pressure's good. I mean, I had that tested in Publix about a couple of weeks ago. You know, like the whole squeeze your arm thing. All that looked fine. I don't smoke. I do vape though. But my diet is pretty good. You know, yada, yada, yada. Going through my health history and this, that, and the other. You know, I don't have any allergies. I don't have any history of any diseases really in my family. So what do you think? They're like, you want to go to your friend's house because he has coronavirus? Yeah. Do you think I'll survive it? Well, it's pretty early to tell, but your health looks pretty decent. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm type O positive with my blood. Oh well, okay. Well, studies have shown that actually looks pretty good. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm at a point where I would just rather get it just to be done with it, and that's the way that people treated chickenpox. Now, and chickenpox, you might say that it's a completely different thing from coronavirus, but hold on a minute though, because kids who got chickenpox, they got over it. No, like almost nobody died from chickenpox who were kids. Yes, some of them happened, but by and large, kids who got it, they got their rash, they built the immunity, and it was over. Now, if you're an adult and you get chickenpox, that's a whole different can of worms. Especially if you get it a second time, which is shingles. I've already had shingles. I got shingles when I was 26 years old. Nuts. It's extremely painful. Like half of I think it was my left side of my back. Yeah, it was. It was the left side of my back. I'm pretty sure it was. That was just, it was filled with like a rash that looked like lightning. It was crazy. I don't know. It was not good. It was bad. But I was diagnosed with it. I had shingles. Most people don't get shingles until they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. But I mean, like people who got chickenpox when they were older, it was way more dangerous, just like coronavirus is. The older you are, the more dangerous it seems to be. So you get the youth who are, by and large, they're like Teflon with coronavirus, it seems like, which is it's spectacularly amazing news. It's like the best news that we could hope for, really, because it's our youth that's going to, you know, inherit the system that we're living in right now. So I mean, you would want the youth to live through this. We don't want this to be something that doesn't affect the old people, but it kills off the young people like crazy. I mean, that would be the extinction of the human race. I mean, pretty close to it at least. But I don't know. I don't think that's such a bad idea. I'm not endorsing that idea at all because clearly it's very dangerous to talk about that these days. But I just want to say back in the 80s, probably in the 70s, I don't know when, but I know when I was a kid, they had chickenpox parties. Just because little kids who got chickenpox were fine. They were going to be fine. And once they got it, they were immune to it. They were good. Just like coronavirus. Kids who get coronavirus, it seems like, it's hard enough for them to get it to start with. And when they get it, they seem to pull through just fine. So, no, I don't know about all this. I mean, what they're worried about these idiots who get it. They're going to be fine, but they're worried that they're not going to self-quarantine. They're worried that when they get it, they feel sick, but they still have to get their stupid Starbucks. They still have to go out and get their stupid pastry or whatever the hell they're doing during the day. Or, oh no, they ran out of milk. I feel like crap. Yeah, I got a fever, and I'm sure I got coronavirus because I was at a coronavirus party the other day, and I do feel kind of sick. But I ran out of milk, but I gotta have my milk with my coffee, so I'm going to Publix. I understand what the New Jersey governor's worried about. I understand that because people my age and people in their 20s and even the Gen Z folks are freaking stupid, very stupid, and they just don't care. So I understand that for that aspect. Now, if these people go to that party and once they get coronavirus and if they hunker down for 2 full weeks without leaving their bedroom, I would understand that. Okay, that I would be all on board for. I'd be like, yeah, party it up, man. Get the DJ going, party it up, get hammered, this, that, and the other. Tomorrow, assume you have coronavirus, lock yourself in your room for 2 weeks, wait for it to, go through your system. I get it, okay? I get it. But that's not what these idiots are doing. No. The ones that show up to a coronavirus party, they're not going just to a coronavirus party. They're going to go to other parties, whether they feel sick or not. I don't know. But anyway, that's insane news, dude. CDC issues travel advisory for New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. They're talking about shutting those 3 states down, which I think I had pulled up. Let me get rid of this. I didn't end up finding what I was looking for. That's what I hate about USA Today. They scroll it away, and I don't even know where the hell it is. Because these are live updates, so they keep posting new tidbits of information. It's good. I mean, it's the latest, but still. All right, I'm almost done. Coronavirus. Oh, yeah, here's the bill. Reckoning for libertarians. So let us all have a moment of sympathy and perhaps even understanding for Thomas Massie, Republican of Kentucky. Massie was the guy who caught hell from all sides Friday when he tried to force a roll call vote on the coronavirus relief bill in the House of Representatives. He said he wanted every individual member to record his or her vote on the gargantuan $2 trillion package, which he called the biggest relief bill in the history of mankind. Absolutely justified for doing that. Everybody's name should be on that bill. If they did a verbal call like, let's hear the yeas, yay, let's hear the nays, no, and the yeas have it. If that's the case, then nobody is going to be personally responsible for passing this monstrosity of a bill. All right? I completely side with this guy. Everybody's name should be recorded on that bill because everybody should be accountable when our inflation goes out of control, because it will. Not with just this one bill, but this is going to be the first domino that causes, a year and a half from now when you're paying $12 for a bag of bread. Remember this, because this was the first domino that caused that to happen. That's why you're paying $12 for a bag of bread. Let's hope I'm wrong. For Massie and many like him, the bill that aims to forestall economic disaster in the face of a pandemic is in itself a fiscal calamity and a radical turn in governing philosophy. Letting this go without a recorded vote was capitulation on a profound scale, a violation of all he held sacred. If this bill is so great for America, why not allow a vote on it? He fumed on Twitter. Explicitly, the CARES Act, which stands for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, spends money faster than any legislation in history, shoveling it out with an air of near desperation. That strikes fear in those who routinely regard all government with suspicion and the government in Washington with the most suspicion of all. especially myself included. I can't believe this is on NPR, actually. Let's see. For now, we are in crisis. We are in a crisis mode. But in years to come, how do fiscal conservatives who vote for $2 trillion attack the cost of budget items that will now look like rounding errors or a decimal dust? Speaking about federal outlays decades ago, Republican Senator leader Everett Dirksen once joked, "A billion here, a billion there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money." Here we now have translated that to the language of trillions, obviously, because it's a $2 trillion package here. If one were writing a 30-second TV spot attacking a free spending Congress in the past, one might have written something like this. This is an unprecedented gusher of taxpayer money with no offsetting revenues or spending cuts. That not only balloons the federal budget, but triples this year's anticipated deficit of $1 trillion, already among the highest in history. With this single vote, Congress has added as much to the national debt as was accumulated in the first 200 years of the Constitution's existence. 100% true. And if you need to read that again, that says it all. It took 200 years for the United States to accumulate the amount of national debt that we got out of this. Let's see. With this single vote, Congress has added as much to the national debt as was accumulated in the first 200. Yeah, so it took 200 years for this United States to accumulate $2 trillion in debt. We just passed it in one night. We essentially passed as much debt into our system as the country took 200 years to do so. Now, that doesn't include, or that just look at the time. Okay, so like, look at the context into this. Like, look at the bigger picture. Back in the 1800s, the Transcontinental Railroad, huge project that was paid for by and large by the federal government. I mean, it was insane. I mean, I watched like a 3-hour documentary of the Transcontinental Railroad. I've seen it many times because I usually try to watch a documentary that's long form before I fall asleep. It's just a way for me to fall asleep at night. But I mean, the Transcontinental Railroad, in some places, the government was paying like it was like $15 million for every 20 miles of tracks or something like that. And back then, $15 million was insane. I mean, in today's money, that would probably be somewhere like almost close to probably $200 million or maybe even $500 million, something like that. It was a monstrosity of a budget to construct the Transcontinental Railroad. Insane. But you get all these other things. The Civil War. Do you know how much that probably cost? It was probably a fortune for both sides. And both sides were both Americans. So I'm sure the Civil War didn't help at all with our government's budget. I'm sure it didn't. But you take everything. I mean, that includes World War I. That includes World War II. I mean, everything from 1776 to 1976. When we reach the year 1976, the bicentennial year, a lot of people are still alive today who were born before 1976. If you were born on or before the year 1976, the entire government's deficit was less than $2 trillion. And that's the point they were making. And where are we now? Well, before this insaneness started happening with coronavirus, we were about 23 trillion in debt, last I saw. And now with 6 trillion in total, because this is only the package that affects, workers and businesses. In total, it's like 6 trillion that they're trying to fuse into the economy with coronavirus. So 6 trillion. That's like 25, close to 30% of the entire deficit of the United States. This is bad, man. This is really bad. But anyway, I'll go ahead and read on. Some who voted for CARES this week can expect to hear something like that on the airwaves someday, whether it's a totally fair characterization or not. Now, Massey, the guy that insisted on everybody coming down on Friday to be present for the vote to get their name on this bill, pertaining to him, was it a grandstand play? Was he being a showboat, perhaps? And if that is the judgment of his colleagues and constituents, he will pay a price for it. The rest of us will have to judge for ourselves. No, I think he did absolutely the right thing. Because when this economy crashes, it's probably going to be because we just took $6 trillion and just threw it out in the air for everybody to collect. And if nobody's name's on that bill, nobody's going to be held accountable for it. So I think he absolutely did the right thing. It was a very, very good thing that he did. And what the Congress members were trying to do, Congresspersons, I guess Congress members isn't, I don't know, whatever. But what they were trying to do, they were trying to use coronavirus as a reason to, cower away and just run away from Capitol Hill and run and hide and say, yes, yes, I vote. Yes, I'm just going to stay in my dark corner way far away from the coronavirus. But no, what they were probably really trying to stay away from was trying to get their name on this bill, because they will be held accountable for it. So I praise him for doing that. Back on Capitol Hill, the floor leaders of both parties scrambled to stymie Massey. Within a few hours, they had established the rule of debate on the bill so that the Senate's version of CARES could be approved without a roll call vote. Indeed, some of the Republican senators who ultimately voted for the bill gave earnest speeches on the floor of the Senate this week, bemoaning its necessity. Quote, a sharp break from the past did in fact occur in March of 1933, wrote a historian, Arthur M. S. Jr., referring to FDR's first inauguration in the book is called The Cycles of American History. Quote, the essence of that break lay precisely in the changes from volunteerism to law as the means for ordering the economy. Put another way, the 1933 break was between reliance on the individual and reliance on the collective, between libertarian conservatism and big government liberalism. Those competing forces have risen and fallen in relation to each other in our shared national experience ever since. And that is absolutely true. And I definitely fall way more into the libertarian conservatism part. Save your own money. Rely on yourself. Get your own food. Get your own job. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And keep it to your family. It's like the 1800s, okay? Back in the 1800s, if you had a homestead or if you had a family, nobody else was going to take care of that family but you, okay? And you know what? Even throw in some modern things that they didn't have back then. Maybe the woman goes to work full time and the man stays home to take care of the family. It doesn't matter. If the adults go to work, it's them that are providing for the family, not the freaking government. If the government provides for all the families, you have socialism. And socialism fails every single time. It never, ever works. We don't have enough resources to provide heart surgery to every person living. We don't have enough resources to provide cancer treatments to every single person who gets it. That's why capitalism works. That's why this country is so well off. That's why we're the most prosperous and richest country in human existence throughout the entire history of humanity. It's just really frustrating that people are like, well, no, let the government take care of everything. That's what their job is. Their job is to take care of us. No, their job is to be as irrelevant in your life as humanly possible. If something arises to the point where we need to collect together as a nation to have to get to the bottom of something, that's when the government becomes relative. The government doesn't even need a post office. I'm even against the post office. No, FedEx, UPS, DHL, Amazon's delivering now. Why do we have a post office? Anything that the government is providing to us is it's against all the values that I have. It really is. And it should be for everybody else. The government does not need to be dishing out medical care. The government doesn't need to be dishing out welfare checks or anything. It should be all on you. And if you fall to an illness or God forbid, if you have to recover from a bad illness or if you injure yourself and you're paralyzed or something, either you do the best with your situation that you can. If you're paralyzed from the waist down, you can still use a keyboard. You can still be productive. You can still earn money one way or another. And if you're unable to, if you're a quadriplegic or something, or if you've injured yourself to the point where you cannot provide for whatever ailment that you're going through, you must rely on your family, your friends, and your local community to help you. That's the way that this country should be working right now, but it's not. Everybody is just turning to the government and assuming that the government's just going to take care of everybody, but that's not the way it should ever be. But whatever. Anyway, I don't want to get into a giant tirade with all that, but it's frustrating. Let's see here. Let's see what I got left. Not much. I think I got one left. I'm going to have to wrap this up. It's after 11 o'clock. Good Lord. I'm 2 hours in. Okay. The video I did last night was longer. So, um, maybe that was it. Was that it? This one's number 8. Oh, the cure for coronavirus. Boredom. Oh, this is a fun one. This is good. Okay, so if you're bored at home, you don't know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, but like you don't know what to do. That's what I meant to say. I tried to run my words a little too quickly. That's why I showed this journal at the beginning of this episode, because I came across this article. And I'm like, well, they did mention that, so I actually have one here on my table. I got a couple of them. One of them I haven't used yet because, maybe now's the time to do so. I decided during this whole shutdown thing, I've always wanted to do a personal podcast, and I figured now's the time to maybe start exploring that. But, to speak truthfully, before this coronavirus thing became an issue, I was trying to start my own podcast. And, with bills and with, my paychecks and stuff, I didn't get my dash cam. I didn't get my webcam in time. So I'm still waiting on that. But maybe this would be a good time for me to open up this journal that I bought months ago and start filling it up with the dreams that I have compiled in my phone, because I probably have at least 25, 30 dreams that I still have yet to write into my new journal, which will probably end up filling that up too. But if that's not your thing, if writing's not your thing, if journals aren't your thing, maybe you might find something on here that you haven't thought about. So this one pertains to kids, obviously. Build a sofa fort. I mean, come on. Being a kid, you got to build a sofa fort. For sure. I don't know what we called it. We just called it building a fort. We didn't call it a couch fort. We didn't call it, this, that, and the other. But I will say that's kind of, not to toot my own horn, but that's kind of amateur hour there. I mean, we would use like a full size. I don't think we didn't have any king size comforters or anything, but we would use like the biggest blankets we can find in the house that were like on my parents' bed or whatever. And we would actually tuck the blanket behind the couch there, okay? Then you would stretch it over the couch and onto another piece of furniture. Yeah, you weigh it down with pillows and stuff. That's what we did too. But by covering over the top part of the couch, you had this like extra layer that you can lay on top of and still be underneath the fort. It just gives you a little more square footage. So if you're planning on building a fort with your kids, just know that this couch is flush against the wall. You can stick a part, even just like an inch or two of the blanket behind it, and just jam it up against the wall, and you got a pretty steady support for the top of your tent. I'm not going to read all this stuff. I'm just showing you just what they're saying. Like, learn to cook, learn to bake. Teach your kid how to make scrambled eggs. Teach them how to butter toast, even if they're young enough. Just like when you're cooking dinner, get your kids in the kitchen with you. Show them what to do. Ask them to go get something, like go grab the measuring cup, go grab the carton of eggs, go grab this, that, and the other. And look, here's what you do. I've done this multiple times with my daughter over the last couple of weeks. We did a Chef Boyardee pizza the other day. So, there's some things that you could do with that will add some value, some life lessons to your kids when they grow up. They got to learn how to cook sooner or later. Might as well teach them now, right? Find a good book. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. And there's websites. I won't plug anything, but I've heard of some websites where you can listen to audiobooks. And actually, I think on YouTube they still have some too. There's many ways that you can get audiobooks. If you don't feel like reading, you could at least listen and still get the same experience. Relatively speaking, you're not using your own voice to tell the story. You're instead going to use somebody else's voice to tell you. So it's not the same, but it's still a good thing to do to run the hours off the clock. Another one, find a good book. Or no, find a good book. I just said that. Write a book. That's what I meant to say. You could write one. I've written a book. It's called The Egyptian Diamond. You can actually, I think you might still be able to find it online. Here, I'm online. Might as well plug it in. Oh man, I just realized by saying that I'm going to reveal my entire name. I don't want to do that, but whatever. The Egyptian Diamond. But I wrote this book back in 2007. Yeah, as I say, back in 2007. It used to be like the first result on Google, but long time ago. It's not there anymore. Yeah. Oh, this is Bing. Whatever. Stupid freaking Bing. I forgot about my stupid my ad block service. Now I have to actually type in google.com. All I have to do is shut it off, and then I don't have to deal with that. There it is. That's my book. That's my book right there. And yeah, that's cool. They actually show like it's got its own thing there. Yeah, I like the book. Hell yeah. But yeah, John Weston and his four friends discovered a disguised ancient map on the wall in the Great Pyramid. John uses this map and makes another discovery that lands him in the history books forever. They discover the artifact that shines light on the deepest mysteries known to mankind. They actually photographed my book a little bit, I think. Or maybe they didn't. No, I don't think they did. But this very artifact unlocks a world of information, which includes tying together the Bible, ancient Egypt, and the planet Mars. Secrets that the ancient world has hidden includes an advanced human society that thrived on the red planet billions of years ago, long before life on Earth. John discovers the bizarre truth about how life began on Earth, when and where the Bible originally took place, and what the Egyptians used to learn such sophisticated techniques in building an empire. Egyptian Diamond is a mind-baffling book that will keep you wondering and on edge until the end and beyond. I mean, dude, I was what, 2007. I was born in 84, so you can do the math. I was almost 20. I was 22 when I wrote this. So I mean, not written very good. I would be shocked, man. I would go as far as to offer you $100 to find a copy of this. You will not find this book. It ain't gonna happen. But I've got a copy. My mom has a copy, so it does have an ISBN number, which is pretty cool because the publisher I went through, I didn't have to pay them anything. They liked the story that I wrote, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll publish it." And it just happened to be like my daughter. She was born on the 13th of October in 2006, so she was still very, very little. She wasn't even a year old yet when this book was published, and it actually came out. So needless to say, I didn't have, and I was working full time, by the way, during all this, and I was working third shift. So when this book was out there, I had a lot of motivation to go out there and peddle it to bookstores and stuff and try to get it out there, but I couldn't because I was working third shift. I had a less than a 1-year-old daughter at home that I was taking care of during the day. It was hard as hell to find sleep. I mean, I slept like 4 hours a night for like 2 years. But needless to say, I didn't have the opportunity to get this book really out there. But I mean, yeah. But yeah, July 1st, 2007, America's Star Books. It wasn't called that. It used to be called Publish America. They must have changed their name. But yeah, pretty cool. I hope that stays there just for historical value. I mean, you're never going to find this book. I swear to you, you're never going to find it. But yeah, see, it's got two ISBN numbers. That's kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I still have the CD, a CD-ROM that has the Word documents of every chapter. I wrote like, it. I can't remember how many chapters for this one. This one was like 15, 14, 15 chapters, maybe 17. But I did a rewrite for this like back in 2010, and it ended up going like 31 chapters. It wasn't really, it kind of was a rewrite, but it was a big extension to it. I don't know, but whatever. So, yes, you can absolutely write a book. If I could do one back when I was 22 and actually get it successfully published, then you could write a book too. Trust me, it's a lot easier than you think. You just have to acquire the time, and you have the time now, especially if you're just looking for something to do. It's better than watching freaking movies all the time. But you could watch your favorite movies if you wanted to for the last time. I don't know what that means, but I hope they're not saying that it's doom and gloom time. You could clean up your house. I've already done that. My mom's already done that. It's only so clean you can get your house. You can take up gardening. That's a really good thing. And I heard this. I don't know if it was on Joe Rogan's podcast, because I listen to him pretty regularly at work. But it is really interesting. People don't even bother growing fruits and vegetables, and especially vegetables, like growing a garden. Nobody grows a garden. But we have these useless blades of grass that blanket our entire front and backyards that just kind of look nice. It kind of resembles the indoors, like it's carpet almost. It's like our front and backyards are like the carpeting we have in our house. And we mow it, we keep it nice and short. We put a lot of effort into it if it looks nice enough, but that's so stupid. It really is so stupid, especially if you live in a place where the soil is fertile, especially like in the Midwest or in places where crops grow really well. Why in the hell aren't you using your front and your backyard in its entirety to grow food. If the average front yard, I don't know what the square footage is or whatever it might be. I mean, like if the average front and backyard was completely filled up instead of grass, but it was filled up with fruit, with like vegetables, and if you live in the right climate and the right area, you could grow fruit, I guess. But like grapes grow in the Midwest. I know that because a friend of mine grew grapes when I was in high school. I don't know how they tasted, but um, yeah. But anyway, I just think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. Like instead of growing grass, maybe you should just grow a garden. But I do understand it does take a ton of work. A few years ago, I tried to grow a garden back before I got divorced, or I was divorced from. But I tried. Not really much came out of it. I think we got some peppers out of it, but it's tough, especially in Florida. It's really tough because we don't have dirt. We have sand. It's like 90% sand, especially if you dig more than like 6 inches down. So you have to raise your garden if you want to garden here. So it's definitely more challenging here. But if you live in a place like in the Midwest, come on, man. It's got to be so easy because the dirt that you're living on top of is so freaking fertile. I mean, you're living on top of what used to be a vast wilderness for millions of years. The dirt is good. That's why the whole freaking states are covered in cornfields and soybean fields and wheat fields. And, well, I guess that's more of the plains, but still, take up gardening. Yoga. I do yoga every single morning. My 20 minutes. I wake up, I go straight to the living room, I roll out my yoga mat, and I do my yoga. It's been a godsend for my back. I can't believe how helpful that is. Learn an instrument. You can learn how to play an instrument. It's easy. Learn a language. That's not so easy. You could try. I mean, you got the time for it, or at least, I mean, in general, we do, right? Can't go to a restaurant, can't go shopping, can't go mingle in public, can't go to a sports game, can't go to the theme park, can't go on vacation. So you technically do have enough time to do that if you really wanted to apply yourself. You really could learn a new language. And how badass would you be if coming out of the coronavirus, like your experience from coronavirus years from now, somebody's going to be like, so how did you deal with it? Well, I learned Spanish. I learned Russian. I learned, Mandarin. I learned a new language. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then you could just like riff this like insane flow with your your fluent second language that they never knew you even had, and they'd be like, "Damn. Oh yeah. Why not? Take a part." That's something that I'm pretty good at doing. Um Actually, I didn't get it into the if you watched my last video, I actually showed the camera a piece of artwork that my friend made. Um, if I showed it in front of the camera in the first 15 minutes, then it's on the video. But if not, then he's also a really good artist, way better than I am, but in a very different way. He's really good at pen and ink. He's really good at at a style of art that'd be like it'd be like reminiscent to tattoos and things like that, like comic book style drawings and things like that. But me, I'm more of like landscapes, buildings, trees. I'm really good at doing stuff like that, especially abstract. I'm really good with abstract. Not abstract. No, I mean abstract. Anybody can do abstract. I mean, come on. More like surrealism. I really like doing surrealism, like painting or drawing things that seem to defy the laws of physics. I love doing that. Like Salvador Dali, he does some forms of not abstract, but surrealism that is, it kind of defies reality, and I really enjoy doing that kind of art. That art's fun, but it's hard though. It's really hard. I mean, it's like a next level to being an artist, because you have to master your method of artwork, and then you have to go into an area where you have to defy what you know as your reality, and you have to create it. It's really interesting. I mean, but look up surrealism. Look it up. I mean, it may not be as hard as what I'm saying that it is. Maybe it's easy, but I don't know. Whatever. Take up knitting. Could be what is that? An alpaca herder? Are you kidding me? Alpaca herder. Oh. Okay. Knit. Wait, hold on. If knitting isn't your forte, how about you approach it from a different angle? Why don't you supply the finest alpaca wool that the world has ever seen? All you need is two, and your alpaca empire will grow to dominate the collapsing markets of Asia and the West. What the hell are they talking about? World domination is only two alpacas away. So you have to buy a couple of animals, I guess, right? What the hell are they talking about? How much does an alpaca cost? Whatever. Make your own candles. That sounds a little more practical. Make your own candles. Why not? You can also make your own soap. That was a really popular thing a few years ago, if people remember that. Like back in like Michael's and Hobby Lobby and stuff. I mean, they still sell all those making kits, like make your own soap kits, but for some reason, like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, like somewhere like around like 2013, 2015-ish. I don't know why, but it seems like soap making was the thing. Like everybody made their soap. They threw like herbs and spices and all this crap into their soap, and they made this awesome organic soap that was like way better than the store brand stuff. And I don't know, I just remember that. I mean, even in it still exists today. I mean, every time I go to a neighborhood market type thing, I mean, obviously it's not happening now, but in recent past when we went to markets, there's always people that sell tons of soap. I don't know, something about soap. Definitely more than candles. I'm surprised that they put candles up here before soap. But anyway, you can start a blog. Definitely would recommend that. Start a blog. If handwriting's not your thing, use your keyboard. So when the power stations go to the man or woman holding, oh no, that's the candles. Start a blog. This also featured in my other article, which you should definitely check out, but it is still a great option for documenting the last dark days of humanity. Whatever. You can get an online qualification. That's what I keep saying. They're saying to do it online, but I'm saying like you need to get hands on, man. You need to find like a job that you can use your hands for. Like go out and find a plumber. Maybe you have an uncle. Maybe you have a relative who has a friend who's a plumber, and get underneath somebody's wing when it comes to like a legit skill or trade, and get in on it, especially if you're going to be equipped with 4 months worth of income, like what a lot of people are who are going to be unemployed. You got to get ahead of that. I mean, like now, like last week now. Like you should have done this like a week ago. I'm telling you, man, especially if you're working in the restaurant industry or like the person-to-person retail industry, like in the shopping malls and places like that. I'm not saying all of them are going out of business, because, I mean, of course they're not, but I mean, the ones who are going to survive this are the ones who are probably still open right now. So I think Walmart's still open, right? Walmart, Target, I think they're still open. I know the grocery stores are open, but I don't know. But whatever. You don't want to work in one of those places. Do you know how hard it's going to be to find a job there? Like in your grocery store right now? Do you know how insanely piled high those applications have to be right now? Especially a month from now. I could not imagine that. You want to talk, I mean, like to be a manager of a grocery store a month from now with the unemployment frenzy that we're going to be dealing with, and everybody who's looking for a job, they're actually driving around seeing what's open and they only see grocery stores. They're going to have like employment applications that are literally a mile high, and the manager's going to have to sort through all of that. I mean, obviously they're not going to look through all of them. They're just going to start from the top, and they're like 20 deep. And they're like, all right, this guy sounds perfectly fine. He worked in a grocery store like for 6 years, such and such. He's definitely qualified. All right, let's hire him at minimum wage. I mean, we don't know how bad it's getting, but I'm telling you, it's going to get that bad. Take some cool photos. So dust off the camera. And I'm not talking about your camera phone. They might be. Yeah, there you go. Just grab a camera. Yes, an iPhone will do. Okay. Well, try to find a legit camera. If you have an old school 35 millimeter camera, do that. Because there's a lot of value in that film. Because it's hard to find film in a camera. And if you have a 35 millimeter somewhere stashed away in your house, and if you were fortunate enough to have an unused roll, you might have yourself 35 exposures, 40, however many that they put in them, 26. I think 26 was for the 110 film camera. That was the only one I could afford, 110 film. But yeah, if you have a 35 millimeter camera with an unused roll, dude, you can't just go willy-nilly snapping dozens of pictures of one thing like you can with an iPhone. That takes away the artistry. That kind of pisses me off that they said that. Take some cool photos using an iPhone. It's like, no, man, come on. That you're gonna have fun with that for 5 minutes, and then you're gonna be like, all right, well, I got 100 pictures of, 3 things that I found in my front yard. No, man, you find an old school 35 millimeter camera that you might have stashed away. Ask your grandparents, ask them if they have one stashed away somewhere. And if you're lucky enough, they might even have some film that's still with it that they haven't used yet. Film doesn't expire, not if it's not been exposed. I don't think it does. You know, Stash the cartridge in there, spool it out, wrap it around, close up the camera, and wind it up, and go out there. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, like that stuff is priceless, man. You can't just like burn up 35 pictures in 1 hour. You can't do that. You got to sit and wait and just look. I mean, that's a really good concept. I mean, not using your stupid iPhone, but actually using a piece of hardware, an actual camera, and not a run-of-the-mill digital camera. I mean, like if you're lucky enough to find a film camera, now you might not be able to find anywhere that will develop it for years, but at least you will know that you have this insanely awesome roll of film, and hopefully it doesn't get overexposed or whatever. But I'm just saying that if I wanted to take this up, that's the direction I would go. Or you can just enjoy life, and I will read this part. If you read this far, then firstly, congratulations, and secondly, it is clear that the first 18 did not tickle your fancy. How about you take a more wholesome approach and simply enjoy the small things in life? All jokes aside, it might surprise you how nice life can be when you simply sit back and relax, also, and try and forget the impending doom in the foreseeable future. Remember, stay safe out there and always wash your hands, and with the hullabaloo outside, why not calm yourself down with some more of my posts? You won't regret it. All right, whatever. I didn't have to read that, but anyway, Will the writer, and I'll give them a plug. I mean, okay, so it's on boredalot.com/the-cure-for-coronavirus-boredom, and you'll find this article. So I would recommend this. I mean, they really do have some really good ideas here. They could have added some extra good ones, but I mean, they really do. I mean, I think by and large, for the oh yeah, I skipped over that one, didn't I? Learn how to make your own alcohol. That's another one, but see, look what they say. They say that just a quick Amazon order will give you all the provisions to brew and drink your own alcohol. No, can't do that anymore. Amazon, they're closed. They're not going to ship out anything that's non-essential. They're not. Go out and try. I'm telling you, go out and do it for yourself. Where is the date? They're not telling us when they wrote this. That irritates me, man, with these stupid timeless articles. Visited 424 times, 3 visits today. Oh, wow, man, how the hell did I find this? That's funny. But, I mean, you know what I mean. You can't go on Amazon if you want to make your own alcohol. What you need to do, you need to get on a search engine, do a search, and then just try to find a good method where you can grab some household materials. You will need yeast. So if you don't have some live yeast just tucked away in your pantry somewhere, you're going to have to go out and buy some from the grocery store if it's worth the risk. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to buy a kit from freaking Amazon. Seriously. You just have to, I mean, I know there's like glass bottles involved. There are materials you're going to have to piece together, but I think Walmart's still open. And plus, the auto parts stores are open. So if you need tubing or if you need, certain items that you may, also, I think like Home Depot and Lowe's, I think they're open too. So you could put together a brewing kit pretty easily with the stores that are still open. You just have to find an article that will be descriptive enough for you to get started with. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to call it a night. That's pretty much it. I'm done. And I thank you so much for watching. And yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I got through all that. That's all done. So it's 11:30. I think I've been rolling on for 2 hours and 26 minutes. That's a record for this series. So far, that's the longest I've gone. So, oh yeah, the new background, got that going. I don't know that I've spent a long time looking at this. This was my work desktop or wallpaper. I mean, for at least a couple of weeks. So I mean, I looked at it long enough to notice that anything with these little spikes on it is like a highway. So there's one there, there's one there, there's one here, there's one there, there's a little one right there, there's one right here, there's one down here, another one there, another one there, here, here. And then you go up higher, one there, one there. Like they're all over the place. So this, I guess this is like, I guess this is supposed to symbolize like a spaghetti bowl of what we know of today, with like when two interstates converge together in a major city or something like that, with all the on ramps and off ramps trying to connect you to this way and that way and all those other ways. It kind of looks like that, but it's in the future. So anyway, all right, I'll go ahead and leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stay super safe out there. Keep your hands clean. Don't go anywhere that you don't have to go to. Just weigh your options. And if you have to go to the grocery store, long sleeve shirts, long sleeve pants. I can't tell you what material you have to use. I'm just saying, I think it's better than not even trying. I mean, living where I live, I would just wear just some shorts and a tank top and just waltz in there and just grab whatever I wanted. But no, I take the extra effort, even though it's hot outside right now. I mean, I still wear gloves, and I mean, they're cotton gloves. They're like winter gloves. I wear those. Not skiing gloves. I'm not wearing those stupid looking like skiing gloves. I'm wearing like cheap $1 cotton gloves, and long sleeve shirt, long sleeve or long pants, and when I come home, before I go inside, I take all my clothes. Actually, I take them off in the parking lot. That's what I've been doing the last couple of times. But I have all my clothes. Like I have a full set of clothes on underneath. I have a t-shirt on, and then I have shorts on underneath all that. I just peel it off me inside out, drop it into a trash bag, take the gloves off inside out, throw them in there, and then I just wrap it up. And then I take some aerosol sanitizing spray and I spray on top of the bag. I don't know if that does anything, honestly. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert or anything, but in my mind, I think it's better than just doing nothing. Going into a store and somebody coughed into the air 30 seconds before I walked through that cloud of coronavirus. It's going to blanket all over my clothes and my skin, and then I sit in my car and it gets all over my car, and you can kind of see that domino effect happening. But anyway, just do the best you can, and if you get sick, just get through it. Try to stay as healthy as you can, exercise as much as you can if you're not sick, and if you are sick, just do everything you can to keep your loved ones from getting sick, for sure. And I guess until tomorrow, I plan on doing another one tomorrow, and hopefully I will have this. Oh, it's done. This stupid long video. It is done. It's completed, finally. So I will try. I don't know if I'm going to get it up tonight. I'm kind of done. But if not tonight, I'll get it up in the morning and have it posted up on YouTube. And the same with this one. I'll do them back to back probably. I'll just throw them both up there. And anyway, thank you so much for watching. Stay very safe out there. And I will hopefully get you here next time. All right. Thanks again for watching. Bye.